think we're on,
are we?
guys. Yeah.
Well, hey, man.
I'm pretty sure we're live.
All right.
Hey. All right, guys. Welcome to vSHOTT Night 2, vSHOTT 2023. This is our third year of doing vSHOTT, and so as some of you may know, at least one night of vSHOTT every year has been the Night Goggles Takeover.
Yeah.
So tonight we have Tom Austin, director of Night Goggles and just overall sexy human being, as well as Don Edwards as our guest host tonight, who is the owner of Greenline Tactical and a TNVC alum, whom many of y'all will probably already be familiar with.
All my people better be tuned in right now.
Before we get started, I want to remind everyone again, we do have coming up tomorrow night, we will have our grand prize giveaway of a Cobalt Kinetics TNVC custom.
One very much like it, right?
CK Pro, yes, not that exact one and not fully kitted out. You're just getting the rifle. It's not going to have all of it's not going to have all the stuff on it, but in order to be signed up for that and for other giveaways, you need to register for vSHOTT at tnvc.com/vSHOTT. That's vSHOTT. You don't have to be registered to watch vSHOTT. You don't have to be registered for vSHOTT to submit questions, but if you want to be entered for the giveaways, to get coupon codes, exclusive links, and other kinds of perks, you do have to register at tnvc.com/vSHOTT, and that gives you a chance to win the grand prize Cobalt Kinetics rifle.
That M81 looks awesome.
It does look pretty good. Well, I mean, Be All You Can Be is back,
Exactly.
so M81 is back. It's all coming back now, guys.
And it's what you wore, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The pattern that created legends.
That's right. That's right. At least clothed.
I like it.
All right. Are you done?
So
Tom and I got talking to do.
we are gonna have some special remote guests today as well. Korey Kirschenmann, one of our Night Goggles Pro staff, as well as Gabe Cabrera from Cobalt Kinetics, who's going to talk a little bit about what they do, as well as the grand prize rifle.
This rifle a little bit. Yeah.
So, and before we get started, though, Tom, I think you have a special announcement.
I do. So, if you like hunting, especially night hunting, night vision, thermal, we have something cool. There's a brand new NV hunting forum at ar15.com. So if you're familiar with the ARFCOM, come and find us. We have a brand new hunting forum for night vision and thermal. We're going to talk about all the gear, the tactics, some of the successes that we've had, the failures that we've enjoyed, and there's also a new predator hunting forum there as well. So
Heck yeah.
go to the ARFCOM.
Back in ARFCOM.
We're going to be posting videos. Korey's going to be posting his video series, the Kirsch Chronicles. Korey kills a lot of coyotes. He killed over 300 coyotes by himself last year. And he captures every single one on video. So if you're into that sort of thing or want to learn more about it, come and join the conversation over at ar15.com. Again, it's a night vision thermal hunting forum, and there's a coyote hunting forum that's separate as well. So that'll be cool. We'll talk more about that when Korey gets on.
Nice.
Yeah. Speaking of Korey, he's here, and he's gonna grace us with his presence. He has a lot to teach us tonight. We're gonna roll some video that he shot previously. Kind of about how he sets things up and what he does to be so successful there in North Dakota where he lives. Check it out. Hello and welcome to vSHOTT. My name is Korey Kirschmann. I'm a product specialist for Night Goggles. I'm here today to talk about my coyote setup. I'm going to talk about my chest
I'm going to talk about taking all of my equipment and how I get it to the stand. Then I'm going to talk about when I'm on the stand, how to deploy all of that equipment. Now, I apologize. I wanted to be outside, but we have a blizzard going on and we got feet of snow. I'm from North Dakota, by the way, so it's not a good time to be outside. So we're going to have to do this from my basement. Let's start with my chest rig. This is a Haley D3 RX. We have it available on the Night Goggles website. Very comfortable. And one of the keys in night hunting is to keep things easily accessible. You want to know exactly where they are. Also, keep it fairly minimal. You don't want to take too many things. So, let's start from right to left. First of all, I've got my Fox Pro TX1000 remote. Fits right in my pouch available. In the middle, I've got a selfie stick and a thermal scanner. Now, this used to be 2 ammo pouches, but for daytime use, I've removed the stitching so I can fit a pair of binoculars in here. In the nighttime, I've added a bungee cord in here that separates the 2 pieces together. So, why would I use a selfie stick? No, it's not because I want to go out and take pictures of myself when I'm coyote hunting, although I do that. It's so it takes a stress off my shoulder. If I'm going to sit for 45 minutes on a coyote stand and I'm going to scan back and forth, I'm going to end up causing a lot of fatigue on my shoulder. And again, you want to try to be on stand as long as you can, or go on as many stands as you can to try to get as many coyotes as you can. So what do? I put an Arca Swiss plate on the bottom of the scanner. I have an Arca Swiss clamp on my selfie stick. I put them together, simply tighten it down. Now this is going to take the fatigue off my shoulder. If I want to even put less stress on my shoulder, I can increase the length of my selfie stick, and now I've got the ability to scan in multiple directions and again take the weight off my shoulder. Now, I mentioned I'm from Dakota. It's always cold here in the wintertime, so I want to maximize my battery life. This selfie stick has rechargeable battery in the handle. This allows me with a magnetic cord to quickly attach, and now I've doubled battery life with the selfie stick. This is giving me stability, it's giving me lessening my fatigue in my shoulder, and it's giving me battery life. So I'll go ahead and break this back down. You'll notice again how fast that was. So this is not a big task or a hard task to do this. You can do this in a matter of seconds. The next thing I have in my chest rig is I've got a drag. This allows me to take out 2 or 3 coyotes out of the field at one time. Minimizes the effort doing that also. If I move to my front pouches, I've got a battery for my thermal. I've also got some double batteries in here. This is for my remote control, so I've got anything that could possibly have a power source, I've got an extra battery for that. Now this is my IR flashlight. I use this for a couple of things. Later on I'll talk about my night vision, but when I have my night vision on, I can simply activate my IR light and it will illuminate the area around me. Also, if I want to see a long distance in front of me, I'm able to take my IR flashlight and shine in the distance, and I'm able to see distant hills and see my path. So this allows me to see both long distances with my night vision, as well as it allows me to illuminate the path around me. In this front pouch, I've got a hand call in the event I need to use one during the hand. And in my last pouch, I've got an extra magazine clip. All of my ARs and my bolt action rifles have a magazine, so I'm able to use that in the event that I have one of those stands where I need more ammunition. And the last thing I have is for emergency purposes, it's an extra light. This is by Princeton Tech. This is a visible light. So in the instance where I need to find something that I've dropped or something like that, I don't want to use my night vision, I'm able to turn on my visible light. Well, this is my chest rig, and I hope you've learned something or something that can help you out when you go coyote hunting.
That is awesome info, Corey. Thank you so much. We were listening in because we can't hear you unless we have some headphones on, but really good information there. As you can see, Corey has this down to a science. He does not guess anything. Everything he does has a purpose, has a place, and that's how you have to be at night. If your gear isn't organized, you're a mess.
You might as well not have it.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter if you're war fighting, if you're hunting. If you don't have your gear organized, know where everything goes, then it's going to be a big old mess and a nightmare for you. So, Corey's also going to talk about what he does in the vehicle and how he gets to his stand. So let's go to that point, then we'll discuss more.
Now that we've talked about my chest rig, let's talk about how to get this and all of my other equipment from the truck to the calling stand. So you're going to have to get there by walking, and you could do it in the dark, but you might step in a hole and break your leg. But at the very least, use some type of headlamp so it can light your path as you're walking. But when you do that, you've now alerted all the animals in the area you're there, as well as other humans also. So it can be an option, but a better option is to use night vision. So this is my night vision hunting setup. Again, I'll keep things as minimalistic as possible. So why am I using a Crye precision nightcap versus a ballistic helmet, etc.? And by the way, they're great. The reason I'm doing this, I mentioned North Dakota again. Cold North Dakota. This is an example of my face mask that I use when it's cold. When it's really cold, I'll sometimes wear 2 of these. Well, the difference in my head size from wearing nothing to wearing 2 of these is pretty drastic. Having this mesh allows it to stretch. It's also adjustable. So on my nightcap, I do have a counterbalance weight on the back. And as I put this on, and I've got this set up to be used with my face mask, and so it's a little bit bigger right now. I won't even push it up, but this allows me now again to be able to use the night vision as well as my infrared light and allow me to get my calling locations very safely. I've also added a small Princeton Tech light on my mesh. This is for close work. So when I'm attaching my rifle to my tripod, things like that, close in work, I can have a work light also. Okay, so now we're ready to go to my calling location. I've got my chest rig, I've got my night vision on. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my chair. Now this beard buster chair, turkey hunters know this chair very well, very, very light. We're talking about at maximum 1 pound of additional weight. I put that over my right shoulder. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my gun and I'm gonna put this over the exact shoulder. Now this does 2 things for me. This protects me from my gun. It doesn't hit against my back. It also protects the gun from me. So this chair actually makes it more comfortable to carry this than even carrying the gun by itself. The next thing I'm going to grab is my tripod. Many of you know this tripod. This is a Stalker Pro tripod, my absolute favorite. You will not find a more stable tripod for the money. And I've put a couple of accessories on here. This is a simple beverage handle from Amazon. Why do I have it on here? Well, it allows me to grab this and carry this tripod very easily out to the field. I could grab it by a leg, but it's much easier to grab by the handle. I've also added what's called a tripod king on here. It keeps the legs together. This is by Apex 3D. So by doing this, again, it's making this a very, very easy thing to carry, no matter how far I have to walk. Now, some of you will attach this to your gun and carry it out to the field together, and that's fine, but I'm using this for a stand. I'm not stocking anything, so I break it apart to ease my transportation process to my calling location. And the last thing I'm taking out is my actual electronic game call. This is a Fox Pro X24. I've got my tripod in my left, my X24 in my right. Now, let's talk about this handle again. When I'm going to my stand, I can put this all into one hand, and now I can rotate my night vision up, and as I get to a hill, I can actually scan with my thermal to make sure there's no coyotes in front of me. This is for navigation, this is for detection. When I'm done with my stand and I'm walking back to my truck, I can actually, again, put both in one hand. I can then take my coyote drag and I can be bringing the coyotes out with my other hand. Optimization is key when you're night hunting. At this point now, I get all of my things easily accessible and I'm walking to my stand.
Man, that's awesome info. He really does a good job, doesn't he? Yeah. Some of you may be thinking, why would I need a helmet if I'm just hunting coyotes? You know, coyotes aren't shooting back at me, which is true. But Corey's setup works good for him. And my setup works great for me. I've kind of tweaked my setup many times over the last few years, but I've got it dialed into something that just works good for me. I use a bump helmet. This is an OpsCore Fast bump helmet. It's very lightweight, very comfortable. And the reason I like it is because it holds a little bit more weight more comfortably than the nightcap does.
Especially if you're running binoculars.
A bino system, yeah. So here I've got my my binocular system set up on a Wilcox G22, and I really like this setup. Obviously, I use a counterweight. This is just a Mohawk counterweight system. It's got lead weights in the back. It's also got a battery tray for CR123s. I can put, you know, AA's in here if I need to, but I use CR123s in there. And then my good buddy Sam Houston gave me a tourniquet that matched.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be good to have that on there in case someone accidentally shoots themselves or, you know, cuts themselves skinning a coyote or whatever. It's always good to have some medical equipment. But the helmet makes it so that I can actually stay out all night and hunt all night. And I use this to drive into my stand. I have the IR lights set up on the tack toy. And we did that when you came out and hunted with me in October. We put our nods on and we drove from stand to stand blacked out with just IR lights. I, of course, have the Lux 40 tactical pads in here. This makes a huge difference on how comfortable the helmet can be.
Absolutely.
I'll have Don talk about his helmet setup, but there's all sorts of different ways to set your gear up. Do I need this to kill coyotes? No, but I believe it helps me kill more coyotes. And it's also good practice for me to be able to use my gear and know how it works. And if shit hits the fan someday, I have it all.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting to note is how many similarities there are between mine. Like my setup is more, you know, I'm more of a tactical guy. Of course, this is the exact helmet I wore when we were hunting because it's what I have. It's it's an OpsCore, but it's the carbon fiber bump helmet, so it's not ballistic. But you have this same light that I have on here, but you also have the Princeton Tech. So it's cool to have, you know, Corey's wearing a headlamp.
Yeah.
And you know, we're wearing night vision and we have lights on the helmet. So with the helmet, we can attach different stuff with these arc rails and stuff. And you have an admin light, the little Princeton Tech, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then also, if you need a really bright light, you can turn that on and your hand's free. And that's one of the reasons we put all this stuff and it's kind of like jewelry, you know, and I've got pretty much the same goggles that Tom's running, mine are DT.
I'll bet your tubes are nicer, but...
Well, yeah, well, Super Gain is a thing, and G24 mount with, what's your retention? Oh, that's a nerd.
It's a
You just
nerd,
run it
yeah.
differently. You know, Duffy's Nerd is probably one of the most practical retention things I've got. Mohawk. I do a strobe light. That Spark, best blinking light for the money.
Yeah,
if you need something like that on your head. Except that I didn't pay any money for this. I've had this since way back when I was in the Army. And then I got the helmet mounted ear pro because I do a lot of shooting on the range and stuff like that. And
Did you wear your amps while we were hunting? I don't think you did you?
I think they were flipped up because I think. But one thing that I did use, and I was going to ask you if you have. Do you have the cold weather liner that Chip invented?
I have used it before. The cold weather liner from Unity. I don't need it a lot in my area.
It was cold when we were hunting.
Cold for you. You're from Florida.
I live in Florida, but yeah, I live at the Hampton. But yeah, dude, I don't need to get cold, so why don't I stay warm?
Yeah, Don came out in October and we had a good time. I took him a few different places, but we called in 21 coyotes in...
Was that many? We didn't kill as many.
2 nights.
I'm coming back for
fox,
revenge.
A badger.
Yeah.
So we had some...
Yeah, we had
plenty
some
of
fun.
opportunity.
We're coming back for revenge.
Yeah, we did have a lot of fun. And I let him and our buddy John Faulkner shoot, and they learned a lot about predator hunting and their gear, and we're going to do it again too.
Yeah. We got it all planned out. Well, that was only the second time in how many years that I'd ever been out with you, and it was awesome. The last time was way back in Vegas.
And it was hot.
It was
like
hot. It was the
July.
opposite. It was the opposite. We were like
Yeah.
in t-shirts late at night. So, yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, helmet setups. It's surprising, not surprising that there's a lot of similarities, just because we have access to what's practical, and I use it a lot, and a lot of the guys use it, so we advise each other on stuff. But less is more, and I don't have anything on there that I wish I didn't. I mean, I'm always like all my gear. I'm always like, what don't I need?
Yeah.
What have I not used? But I like what Corey was saying, and we were talking about after that with the gear. It's like I was out there with you, and it's like, yeah, I'll just put this in my pocket or something like that. It's like if you don't have it where you can get to it, you might as well not have it.
You're gonna forget which pocket it's
Yeah,
in.
well, you might as well not have it. But then you're carrying stuff that you're not using. So
Yeah.
a lot of lessons learned on that. I doing all the military stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do a chest rig. And now I see why you and Sam do that, because it still makes sense for the same reasons. It's like everything's accessible right there.
Yeah, I've heard practice makes perfect my whole life, and I really don't believe that. I don't think you're ever going to be perfect, especially in the dark. But I do think that practice makes prepared.
Yeah.
And if you're prepared, then you're going to win, most of the time, because preparation is not something that everybody does.
No.
And especially people that spend time and money to hunt, I see a lot of people waste time when they're out in the field because they're not ready.
Yeah. Well, and if you're not ready when that big coyote runs out there, you spent a lot of hard work and time to get out there and
we
for nothing.
We saw that pretty quick
We've
with
seen
John.
that.
Huh? He had some issues with his setup.
Yeah.
And
Mostly it was the zero wasn't working out right. And,
yeah.
But like anything, if you're fumbling around, that big one that we ended up shooting,
The first coyote I called
saw
into
him
you, he was done.
Oh, she.
Because you were on the trigger, and we
Yeah.
knew that it wasn't gonna get away. But
Yeah, that worked out good.
Corey's
Some of the
got
other ones got lucky.
Yeah, for sure. That we left plenty for seed. Corey has some good information about the gear that he uses when he's actually on stand, calling for coyotes specifically. So we'll give it back to Corey for a few more tips.
Now that we're at the stand, we're going to deploy this equipment. I'll start by going to my knee, setting my collar out to the side, and I'm going to set up my tripod. Now normally, again, at night, with no light, I would be using my night vision, and I will be using my IR light to be able to do this. And I will take off my gun, and I will attach it via the Arquus adapter directly to my tripod. And now I've got a flexible, stable platform. I'm then going to deploy my seat. Now there are a lot of different chairs out there, some swivel. I want this to be light, which this is, but just something that supports my back when I'm on the stand, as well as keeps me out of the snow or rain or wet terrain, which this does. At this point, I'm going to take my call and I'm going to set it out probably 60 to 90 yards away from in a strategic position so the coyote will try to win the call but not win me. And I'm coming back to my stand. I'm going to take my remote control and put it on my tripod leg. This is something I discovered a number of years ago. This is simply a bike mount with a phone adapter, a phone holder on here, but it allows me to put my remote control call on here, or my call remote on here. It allows me to always have it in one position. Some people have it around their neck, some people set it by their side, but by having it at one convenient spot, it allows me to operate the call and never have to look for it, so that's very important. Now, once I'm into position, into my calling position, at this point I don't need my night vision anymore. Everything else is going to be done via thermal. So I'll go ahead and deploy my thermal, just like I did previously. Now I'm able to scan from left to right. One thing about this that a lot of people will use helmet mounted thermal, and that's fine, but especially from a seated position, it's going to be over one eye. So once I get to about here, I can't rotate anymore. Using it on a selfie stick, I can start from my right, come all the way over, and when I would normally be able to with my helmet mounted thermal, I can then switch to my left eye and I can continue viewing, that way giving me almost a full 360 degrees. I forgot to mention this tripod shelf I have on here. I have this on here to put my night vision on here or anything else I want to keep away from the snow or the wet ground. Some other items on the gun, I've got this is my Bering Optic Super Yoter. This is my own personal thermal. I do have a focus lever on here. I've got the TRB, is the battery pack system from Night Goggles. And I also have, this is called the Tor Mini IR laser. So with night vision, this allows me to activate this, and I'm able to walk right up to the coyotes because the laser pointer is pointing right to it, and I can see it with my night vision. Now, if you don't have night vision, you could use any type of visible laser to do the exact same thing. This is my setup that I use for coyote hunting, and I hope you picked up some tips today. Have a great vSHOTT.
Hey Corey, thanks a bunch. That was some really great info. As you guys could see, Corey sits down when he's on stand. There's a couple reasons why that works in Corey's area. They usually get 3 feet to 7 feet of snow. And so all the brush is covered at that point. So he's just looking at big snow covered areas. That doesn't work in my area. I'm in the high desert and we do get snow, but we don't get that much. And typically we still have sagebrush, and the sage can grow 6 feet tall in my area of northern Utah. So when I hunt coyotes, I like to stand. So I want to show you what I use. We have 2 different tripods available at Night Goggles. The standard Night Stalker tripod is the smaller one. Let me bring this in so you can see it a little bit better. This little tripod is very durable. It does do standing, kneeling, sitting, prone position. So you can do anything off of it, but it's very small and lightweight. Leg diameter is not very big, about the diameter of a quarter, but it's still pretty sturdy. It only weighs 4 pounds. This works great for really light guns and if you move and hunt a lot.
I got 2 of those.
I sell these to a lot of guys that like hunt elk and backpack into the backcountry. Because they are so small and packable, they load up to about 18 inches overall length. So pretty handy to use. One of the big questions I get is what's the difference between the Night Stalker and the Night Stalker Pro, which is our bad boy tripod. And the real big difference is size. The Night Stalker Pro weighs 7.4 pounds, which is still super lightweight for a good heavy duty carbon fiber tripod. There's 10 layers of carbon on that, on those legs on each one, so it's still very durable, but the diameter is about the size of a golf ball. So it's double the diameter on the legs, and it's going to give you more stability, double the stability. I want to show you how I use this. And when I hunt coyotes, I stand. If I'm going to go out hunting at night, I'm always going to stand up. And the reason for that is because I could have tall brush or grass anywhere. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set the tripod up just below my chin. I don't want to put it up too tall. And I'll show you why in just a bit here. But when I get the tripod set up, this will go much taller. I've got the legs very short on it right now. It'll extend a lot more, but I don't need it that tall. I want it kind of low. So when I get the gun put on, any gun with an Arca Swiss rail will go right into the tripod head. This is a standard Arca Swiss ball head, or you can use one of the many different types of grips that we sell. So once I get the gun in the tripod, tighten it down. I want to push it as far back as I can get it towards that balance point. So the closer I can get it to the mag well, the better. I'm going to adjust the ball head to where it's going to work good for me. I'm a lefty, but I want to adjust it so I can put my thumb and my finger on these 2 screws so I can adjust them, okay? Again, it's below my eye line right now. And the reason for that is I want to be able to lock this in, and I want to be able to scan for coyotes without seeing my gun every time I go past it. And the reason I stand is because when I'm using a handheld monocular, I scan 360 degrees because you never know where a coyote's going to show up. They'll come in behind you a lot.
Dude, that one came from
Way
directly
behind
to
us.
the left.
Yeah. So I like to stand up and I scan every direction, okay? I don't want to be looking at my gun every time I scan. I don't even need this until I see a coyote. Then when I see one, I'm going to get the tripod adjusted. And what I want to do for accuracy, a lot of people will tell me they can't shoot very well off a tripod from the standing position. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, they always try and get it too high. When you're up on your tippy toes, you're not going to be comfortable. You need to spread your legs wide. They should be about as wide as the tripod legs. And I want to make sure that my barrel is pointing the same direction as this front leg, okay? I don't want to be pointing any other direction because when the gun recoils, it's going to recoil back and the tripod is going to react. And if it doesn't come straight back, it's going to throw your gun, your point of impact off. So I spread my legs, I get in here, and what I like to do is leave these somewhat loose, and I lock everything tight with my hand. I squeeze right in here on this collar. Then I can put backward pressure on my shoulder. I'm pulling back towards myself. All my hand is doing is trigger control. I'm not wrapping my hand around the grip or anything of that nature. I'm just using it for trigger control. I touch the trigger off. The gun recoils back perfect. And I'm back on target. Another reason why I like to keep this tripod low is because if I have to shoot downhill, I still have plenty of room to shoot downhill because I didn't put the tripod too high. If the tripod's too high, good luck shooting downhill. You'll never be able to do it. I can also crouch down and shoot uphill very comfortably. So any direction you use this, you can be very accurate. Some are going to call foul on this, but I promise it's true. About a year ago, I set up my tripod and decided to shoot steel at 1,300 yards with one of the guns that Seekins Precision built me. I shot a 6-inch group at 1,300 yards, 3 shots, standing off this tripod, which is half MOA, you know, from a standing position. And I promise, this is as comfortable and as accurate as shooting off a bench if you practice with it. Practice makes prepared.
Prepared.
Right? We got a quick little reel to show you from Korey killing coyotes, and then we'll pull him in and we'll get discussing some fun stuff. If you have any questions, type them down for us.
Yeah, you can ask questions and we'll see what we can do about getting answers.
Hit us up. Corey, good shooting, buddy.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
That is awesome stuff. Korey Kirschmann, our product specialist from North Dakota. We appreciate you being here tonight, man. We know that you can't be killing coyotes because your season's over. And that was the only way we were going to get your time for a little while.
Yes, our night season has just wrapped up. I mean, there's always depredation options a person can do, but in general, our season has closed, and we still got, I suppose 4 feet of snow on the level right now, so it's not exactly the best time to be out there chasing coyotes anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be out there. I'd spend more time stuck than hunting, I guarantee it.
Yeah, there's
so
an
can
old
you tell
fallacy.
us what the number is?
Well, 370. I was hoping for 400 or 500
Are you
this year,
kidding
but
me?
no, it was 370. I think I would have shot 500. I would have shot 500 probably if the winter would have held off a little bit, but it was an absolutely brutal winter. I mean, North Dakota, it's always brutal, but you know, there was an old wives' tale that the more snow, the better for coyote hunting, and I couldn't disagree more. You know, as you get more snow, you can't get around. You can't get to the coyotes, and the coyotes can't get to you. And so, you know, a coyote, energy is life to a coyote. They're not going to do more than they have to survive. And so when you've got feet of snow on the ground, they're not going to run 2 miles through chest deep snow to get to a dying rabbit or whatever sound you're making, or to fight or mate or whatever you're trying to do. So my biggest challenge in tough conditions isn't cold, it's snow. And that's kind of the great equalizer, and Mother Nature won this year and going to cut me short, but I'll still take 370 at the win.
Have you ever shot 370 in a year?
No.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So that's not like a common number then, right?
No, that's maybe a common number for some of the best trappers in the world, or the guys that do it for a living. But a recreational guy like Korey, that's unbelievable. Congratulations too.
Oh, thank you. And keep in mind, that's not a year, that's, you know, fall and winter. That's not, you know, if I was hunting 365 days a year, that's not to make excuses, but it'd be a lot different if I was in a place where the season was open all year and I could just go kill and, you know, just keep doing it all the time. But, and again, some people hear this and think it's about the numbers, and that's great. But I remember every one of those. As those video was coming up, I can tell you what was neat about that night, or, you know, what I ate that night, or there's just so much more to coyote hunting than just the kill, which is fantastic. But night hunting is just, I mean, it's addictive. Tom challenged me this year and said, Korey, take the headlamp off, grab some night vision, and tell me what you think. And one thing I will tell you is it shocked me how much I think that helped me. The idea of the stealth, where you're not announcing your presence as you walk into a coyote stand. As Tom said, driving down a 2-track trail with your lights off. You know, if you're in the middle of nowhere, a coyote isn't used to seeing traffic. Now, maybe if you're off a highway or a main county road or something, that's one thing. But the other thing about night vision that I really love is enjoying the evening. For those of you who've never looked at the night sky with night vision on, I'm telling you what, you are missing something. That is one of the coolest things. The first time I looked up at the sky in Northern Lights, for instance, with nods on, I was amazed. I mean, it's just like right then, I'm just like, my headlamp is staying home. I'm using night vision from this point on.
Yeah, that's one of my girlfriend Leandra's favorite things to do is just go stargazing with nods. And I'm okay with it because we're cuddling on a blanket on the lawn and just checking things out. It's cool. So it's a good date night.
That's why Korey kills more coyotes than you do, because he's more serious about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't have date night coyote hunting, no.
So tell me, Korey, last year you killed 302, 303, is that right?
305 2 years ago, 250 last year, 370 this year. Last year there was some other stuff going on where I just didn't get out. And honestly, I also track how many coyotes I'm shooting, not only total, but kind of per stand per night. And so I
Right.
gauge my own success a lot of time with, how much time I'm putting in the field. And so this year, actually, my numbers were even, I shot the most, but I actually shot the most per stand and both the most average per night. So, it wasn't just sheer, going out and hunting 60 straight nights or something like that too. So I track all that stuff. I log it. I do it for my own purposes. I track things like, what call was I using? What was the GPS location? And then year after year, let's say it's February 15th. I'll go look at the last 5 or 6 year data of what I did around that time frame. And just like fishing patterns, hunting patterns are similar. And that'll help me narrow down kind of what my, maybe what calls I'll use and those kind of things, maybe even the areas I'm hunting, based on that data. But anyway, that just kind of gets to the number and what I track.
What was your best night? How many coyotes?
My best night that I've shot personally is 20 hunting solo. I've lost count of how many times I've shot 15 to 20 in one night, but 20 is my absolute best. My average this year, I averaged 11 coyotes every time I left my house. And so for me, that's a record year. That was even with the snow.
Yeah.
I was a little higher until the heavy snow hit, and then it got tougher and tougher. And I'm lucky. I mean, there are better states for coyote hunting than North Dakota. I'm also not in the best part of my state. I drive about 2 hours to get to a little better coyote hunting ground. But those are still kind of off the chart numbers for where I hunt. I mean, that's the other thing that I'll mention is I'll use the word, really picky about this, but every time I hunt, I treat it like a tournament. And what I mean by that is before I leave my house, I have my entire hunt planned. Where I'm parking, where I'm sitting, depending on wind, and if it's a variable wind, I may have multiple spots. I even have the route my truck will drive. And some people may think that's way, way too over the top, but I will tell you, when you make a plan like that, you are way more successful than wandering around out somewhere, kind of just going, willy-nilly trying to figure out where you want to go. And so I make a plan and I execute, and that helps me kind of, if I'm looking to put up numbers, that helps my kind of optimization of my hunting.
So you're not thinking to yourself, well, should I go over to Anderson's North 40 or go hit that stuff down by the river, or, maybe I'll grab a sandwich, and you're not doing any of that. You know what you're doing, and you're sticking to the game plan, you're going hunting.
I am. Now, I'm not going to fib. If I hear a huge batch of coyotes howling, a mile away from me and I've got access to that property, I'm not saying I'm not going to, divert slightly, make an extra stand and do that. And I'm also not saying everybody should be out cold calling. That's not what I'm saying. But even if I'm locating, right, I'm going to go locate howl. I'm going to go back after I kind of have an idea of where I heard coyotes. And then I'm going to make a game plan of how I'm going to execute, on those coyotes that I heard.
Yeah, my dad always said fish for fish. And he would use that deer hunting, he would use it coyote hunting. And I never understood what he meant until I got older, and I realized that he was saying, if there's a coyote there, go find out how to kill it. If a pack answers you, go fish for those coyotes. And it sounds like that's what Absolutely. You're doing too.
It is, but I've also spent 4 or 5 hours chasing around a pack of coyotes that I maybe should have quit on a long time before and went on to my next spot. But so yeah, there's a happy medium.
We've all done that.
Exactly.
So recently you've been testing some new gear. In fact, I have a demo right here. This is the new Bering Optics Super Hogster LRF. I don't know if that's the actual nomenclature, but it's a laser range finding thermal weapon sight by Bering Optics. Can you tell us what you learned about it and kind of what you thought?
Absolutely. One of my roles as a product specialist is testing equipment. And that is a model that I've just finished testing recently. The Bering optics has been around for a long time in the night vision and the thermal industry. They are an incredible value for what they pack. This specific model, as Tom's showing you, has, besides the laser rangefinder, which is phenomenal, has lots of new features. It has both standard zoom, 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x. Also got step zoom. It's got that cool, right beside one of Tom's fingers there, a nice USB magnetic connection there in the side. That's the best magnetic external power connection I've ever seen on a thermal. It's also showing you the battery area there. Bering made a choice to go with AA batteries. I've heard mixed reports on that. A lot of people are loving the idea of, any convenience store is going to have AA's. They've doubled the battery life as of late. So the very first prototype I had ran about 3 hours on 4 AA's. These are rechargeables, and Bering even includes the rechargeables and the charger with it. That version that Tom's holding in his hands actually ran 6 hours continuously at about 15 degrees with the laser on 100% of the time. So that's pretty remarkable
impressive.
for
Lasers,
4 AA
lasers and
batteries.
thermals both kill batteries.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, hunting in North Dakota where it's cold. So, another feature that's really unique to that is you can create your own custom reticle. You can indicate how many
using an
subtensions
app
you
on your
want.
phone, right?
Exactly. You can indicate how many subtensions you want, how far they're spaced, how many mils, how many MOA, how many inches, how many you want vertically, how many you want horizontally, how many you have. You can create your own reticle for your caliber, your actual ammunition, so that once your laser rangefinder tells you you're at 350 yards, you just go to your 350 hash and let her rip.
Did you play with that feature?
I did make my own custom reticle. I did. We probably could have shown that footage, but I just shot a coyote literally about a week ago or so, some coyotes with that, and used a custom reticle in that process. The only thing is, in Bering's recording process, the only thing that records is the actual screen and the reticle itself. So the user wouldn't be able to actually see, I ranged, this coyote at X number of yards. Another thing is, when you're using a laser rangefinder in the snow, it wants to absorb that laser. It's not bouncing off as easily as off a rock pile or a tree or a house. But that unit you have in front of me, I ranged a coyote on a bed of snow at 1,000 yards, and that's not an exaggeration. That is a game changer for some people, because I've done it enough. This is not to sound cocky or a braggart, but I can usually tell within a few yards how far a coyote is, because I've done it so much. But the number one challenge, especially for new coyote hunters, nighttime coyote hunters, is judging distance. When you've got that glowing animal coming at you, whatever it is in black hot or white hot, it is the hardest thing in the world to be patient. And so having that laser rangefinder on there will be a game changer for lots of people.
So this is coming in 2 different models, a Super Hogster and a Super Yoter. The difference being a 384 resolution versus a 640 resolution. You can get 3 different mount styles with it. This is a LaRue mount, I believe. Yeah, and then you can also get an ADM or a Bering proprietary mount, right? That's cheaper.
That is correct. The LaRue is the top of the line. The ADM mount is about $100 cheaper, and then the Bering mount, the QD mount they have, is about a $200 discount over the LaRue mount.
Very cool. So these are going to be available about mid-May, right? For
correct. We have a pre-order list. Now, there's been some people who've been frustrated because Bering announced that SHOT Show would be a February release. I can take some ownership for that. I actually found a problem in a kind of last prototype, and I know people want it yesterday, but they also want quality. And from that perspective, Bering held it back and said, you know what, we're going to make this thing as bulletproof as possible. They made some changes. They sent me that sample to test, and the minor issue I found was taken care of, and so they are now in preparation. They're getting everything assembled. So they're going to start taking orders early April. We do have a pre-order list. So if you want to be on that list, contact Corey at nightgoggles.com. We'll need your name, your email address, your phone number, and then if you want the 384, which is a super hogster, or the 640, which is a super Yoter, we'll get you on that list. And in a couple of weeks, we'll be calling for other information once the order is placed, and we can expect to start seeing these ship. Again, as Tom, so we're probably talking about mid-May, maybe around that time frame. So it is right around the corner.
Yeah, the Super Hogster LRF starts at $37.95, and the Super Yoter LRF starts at $49.95, which is awesome value for either one. I don't think you could go wrong with either one, really.
4-year totally transferable warranty on a quality unit like that, assembled and serviced in the U.S. You can't go wrong.
Another thing that really impresses me with Bering is their customer service has been really, really reliable. You talk to somebody in Texas if you have an issue, and they can do the warranty work, repair work right here in the U.S. It doesn't have to go overseas. So that really makes it a hard unit to pass up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, of course, carry other brands as well. Pulsar is a very strong brand that we carry, Envision as well. I think we may be seeing some other thermals. Tom, do you have the Duo that you have there? Do you have that as well?
I do, yeah. We can talk about that. So I'm actually going to put one of these on one of my personal rifles because I'm really interested to try this daytime feature out. So this is the Pulsar Thermion Duo DXP50. It's a 50 millimeter lens, but it does dual duty. It also, as well as a thermal weapon sight, it also has daytime 4K video footage. And so this will be really fun to film with. Corey, you filmed a lot of daytime footage with the Wraith the last couple of years. Corn dog coyotes is what I called them because it seemed like every one of them was coming out of the corn, right?
Now, don't give away my secrets, Tom. But yeah, coyotes love cover, and so one of my favorite things is to call coyotes out of corn. I actually use thermal a lot of times during the day as well, but that unit that Tom's holding, you can actually do thermal and daytime view alternating with picture-in-picture in the main view. So that's something that's absolutely amazing, and use the same device going from day and night and absolutely not sacrifice any quality or anything. And by that design, because it's the more traditional, tubular glass style, that'll work just as well on an older style bolt gun as well as an AR. So very functional unit that can be used in lots of different mannerisms. I tested from Pulsar their Talion unit this fall. That's their entry level unit. It's in the low to mid 2000 range, and I'll tell you what, for about $2,400-$2,500, that's a really, really good value as well, in a similar style shape as what you're looking at there.
Yeah, I think they built this one with me in mind because it's ambidextrous. So the focus is here on the side, and I can adjust it as a lefty or Corey as a righty. But it's really cool because, like Corey said, it can film thermal footage and daytime footage at the same time. So it's gonna capture both depending on what you want to do. Or you can just do one or the other. It doesn't have to do both. But I'm really excited to use this. I'm going to get it mounted. I'm going to do the bigger version. They make a DXP55, which has got a little bit more zoom on the daytime footage. I think it's 4X. And I'm going to take it out and try to kill some coyotes with it, and hopefully a wolf. Because the last wolf hunt I went on, I self-filmed it, and it was kind of difficult to do. I had a camera set up alongside my gun on an Arca rail, and when I shot, it it kind of like flashed and tried to close, and you know, you're not going to have that issue with this because it's built for recoil.
Absolutely.
I hope I get mine soon. We have a couple of these DXP 50s in stock. So look them up, nightgoggles.com. They're here and available now. Yeah.
You know, Tom, in that video, I was showing my scanner. And I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. People ask me what is the most important piece of equipment I own when I nighttime coyote hunt. And my answer is my thermal scanner.
Yeah.
If somebody took my thermal scanner away, I'm going to switch my camera here. Sorry, there we go. If somebody took my thermal scanner away, I would quit nighttime coyote hunting. I mean, it is that vital to my success, the ability to hunt for longer periods of time and putting in multiple stands. You know, some guys will say, well, I'll just scan on my rifle. And I'll tell people, well, do this. Go set up a tripod in your basement or in your front yard or whatever. And for 30 minutes straight, that's probably an average, you know, pretty average coyote stand. Stand behind that scope, try to rotate 360 degrees, and don't take your head off that gun for 30 straight minutes.
It's exhausting.
That's what, it's exhausting. Or they'll say, it's a QD mount. I'll take the scope off, I'll scan with it, then I'll see a coyote, and I'll mount it, and I'll shoot it. And, you know, there may be a small percentage of people in the right terrain that can get away with that. But I tell people this, go in your basement, turn off all the lights, put on a pair of gloves because it's usually cold when you're coyote hunting, and see how long it takes you to mount that thermal. How long did it take you? How much movement was there? Because, you know, that coyote see by movement. So now you've been moving around trying to get that on there. And now let's say it took you 10 to 15 seconds. Where has that coyote gone?
Yeah,
in
where
that
is he
10 to
now?
15 seconds, yeah, after that, and try to reacquire that coyote. And so, you know, you can shoot with other things, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to give up my thermal weapon sight. But a person could shoot with digital night vision or Gen 2 or Gen 3 night vision or even a red light, but don't take away my thermal scanner. So when somebody calls me and says, now I'm talking about calling coyotes. Now somebody's going to say, I've got a bait sight. I'm sitting in my, you know, my blind, totally different. And yes, then you can have one gun, it's set up, no problem. But I'm specifically talking about calling coyotes to me. So when I make broad statements like this, please, everybody out there, don't kill me. I know there are different hunting styles out there, but I'm talking about calling coyotes to me personally.
Yeah, and hog hunting too. I can see somebody just having a clip-on, for example. This is the Super Yoter C clip-on. I put a mount on it, and you can use it as a handheld binocular. Find hogs, walk up close to them, put it on your gun and shoot. But when you're calling coyotes, they're coming at you. And they come fast, don't they, Don?
It's a fast game. I mean, hog hunting's no joke either, but yeah, it's like playing, like Dave's playing slow pitch and fast pitch.
Yeah. Excuse me. When Don came out with me, the number one killing sound that we had, because we were hunting these big hay pivots, was belding squirrel, Fox Pro's belding squirrel. And if we saw coyotes out in the pivot and turned that sound on, they were coming now. Mm-hmm. And imagine if you can't see them. You know, you're not seeing them first. You're just turning the sound on and they're coming. And then they show up and they're there all of a sudden.
You better be ready.
You don't have time to put a clip on the gun and do all that garbage. It's just, it doesn't work.
Shoot, I barely had time to get my rifle clipped into the tripod.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're like setting things up. I'm like, I'm trying to get my shoes ready.
But you killed it.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying about don't take away my thermal monocular. And the Phenom that you use is awesome value. That's what Don used.
I mean, they make.
Was that the one I borrowed from you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they make binoculars as well. Pulsar's got one for a person who likes. I mean, it's ironic because people seem to either love that or not like it at all. You don't see a lot of people in the middle with the binocular type where you're holding them up. A lot of people use helmet mounted thermals, and that's okay too, especially if you're, wearing a helmet to start with. You can have it over one eye, maybe night vision over the other, and swap them back and forth. There's no wrong way to do it. Tom's showing one right there. And so, yeah, there's, I believe it's at the Envision Nox, Tom, it looks like.
Yeah, this is a Nox 18. You can use it as a thermal weapon sight. It also has an ADM mount on the bottom of it, but it's got a dovetail mount.
Shoe, yeah.
So I can snap it right onto my helmet and use it hands-free if I want to use it that way. I don't like the thermal fusion. I don't like to use night vision over one eye and thermal over the other. To me, that's a great way to get a migraine. But some people can do it. If I'm going to use thermal, my other eye is going to be unaided, and I just let it adjust to the night. Which also comes in handy if you got to dig something out of your pocket or, clear a malfunction in a cold AR or something of that nature. Because then you have one eye adapted to night vision already. Yeah. And this one, your pupil's going to be so constricted from looking at that LCD screen, you're not going to see crap. You'll have black eye.
You'll be blinded, yeah. Just like coming off of night vision, yeah.
But this
or even
is
more
even
because
worse.
That's super bright, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That brings up another question, Corey. I use my thermals on almost the dimmest setting that I can get away with and see everything. Because I feel like it gives me less eye fatigue and I can hunt longer. How do you set yours up for brightness?
I'm about a midpoint person. Let's say the settings are 5. I'm usually about at 3, it seems like. If you're hunting, for instance, using it during the daytime, you have to crank it up because otherwise you won't see the screen.
It's got to be as bright as it can go usually.
Exactly. So it kind of depends on what the atmospheric conditions are, how dark it is out. Even on a dark, totally, dark night versus a full moon night, I may adjust that slightly. But I'm usually right about a 3 out of 5 is usually where I have my brightness set. You guys were talking about kind of night eye. It goes by lots of different names. People talk about blowing out their pupils, so to speak. But I don't even notice it anymore. I don't know if if you do it enough, you don't even notice it. But
it just is.
I don't really. It just is. I mean, you just function that way. The first time you take a new person out, they like freak out like they lost their vision or something. After you go off the first stand, they're like, "Oh, is it ever going to come back?" But once you do it enough, it's something I don't even recognize anymore and notice it.
That's really true. I mean, I wear night vision a lot, and I forget about it. I forget how it used to be because you just normal. It's like you expect it,
right?
And it's no big deal.
The more you use it, the better off you'll be.
Mm-hmm. You have that habitual relationship with all this gear. You can use it in the dark, and you don't have to worry about it.
So this Envision Nox 18, this is a 12 micron 640 resolution. The image quality is phenomenal. They're beauty. We have these in stock. We have some of the other Envision products in stock. They make a weapon sight with a laser rangefinder built in called the XRF. They're in stock right now. And we also have this clip-on that I talked about. The Yoter C is in stock. I use this a lot. I just barely started using the Picatinny mount, but there's also a way to attach it directly to the objective of your daytime optic. And so I use it in that fashion a ton. But good quality products.
On the forums.
Go ahead.
Sorry, for those of you who don't know, we've got about a 5 or a 10-second delay, so it's hard for Tom and I sometimes to know who's gonna talk first. But it's not a secret that on some of the forums, AR15.com as an example, people sometimes will say, Corey's a clip-on snob. He doesn't like clip-ons. And that actually isn't true. There are pros and cons to a standalone weapon sight kind of versus a clip-on. But if you ask most manufacturers, including Bering, especially if you're a long-range shooter, they will tell you a thermal clip-on, if it's a good thermal clip-on with high resolution, is your best option for long-range shooting, because you're using your optical magnification of your daytime scope versus your digital magnification, on your thermal. And so even though I may talk a lot about standalone thermals, there is a time and place for clip-on thermals as well. And they are a fantastic option for guys who want to go from, again, day to night hunting and simply just either objective mounted or Picatinny mounted, just put it on the same gun and away you go.
Yeah, another benefit, if you're a long range shooter, you already know your reticle subtensions and your drops. So let's say you're using a Night Force NX8 and you're really good with that particular reticle because you know everything. When you put a clip on, none of that changes. You already know it. You don't have to learn a new reticle like you do on a dedicated weapon sight. Luckily, with the new Bering product, you can build your own.
Can you like add pre-existing ones?
I don't think they have the option to upload like a Tremor 3 reticle, but you could build your own really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool technology. Corey, we have a couple questions coming in from some of the listeners. Somebody wants to know if you hunt coyotes in the rain.
Coyotes don't like being wet. If you don't know that, nope. That's just a general fact. They don't. They will avoid being wet at all costs. In fact, there are times I don't even like to hunt a dewy morning. So I don't typically hunt a lot in the rain. That's probably the least thing I do. In snow, if it's a light snow, it's not a problem. But if it's, blowing sideways, then I'll be at home enjoying something besides coyote hunting, that's for sure.
I liken it to your dog at home. If your dog doesn't want to be outside, a coyote doesn't want to be running out there either. And so rain is, I think, a killer. For me, that's one of the days that I stay home, find something else to do. High wind is another one, and that's just because they can't hear you. You can still have success in the wind if you're getting close enough to coyotes, or if you're even calling with the wind at your back to where they can hear the sound and killing them before they smell you. But rain is really detrimental.
I agree. One thing we didn't talk about was cold. We've mentioned North Dakota a few times. Now, I do hunt some other states, but my main hunting area is North Dakota. People ask me, how cold is too cold? Because the old adage is the colder the better. And what I have found personally is it varies per state. But kind of what you mentioned, Tom, it's kind of similar of what your dog can handle. But for North Dakota, the magic temperature I talk about is 20 below zero. Energy is life to a coyote. When it gets about that cold, if you talk to the old trappers, snarers, etc., they'll tell you they don't have success when it gets terribly cold. The coyotes they'll roll up and they'll curl up and conserve energy. Now, if it lasts for a long period of time where you got a cold spell that lasts 4 or 5 days or something, then they got to eat, and you may have some real short periods of really high activity. But in general, I would say, colder is not always better. You get to a point where it just gets too cold. And that temperature, if you live in Florida, it's not going to be 20 below, but there may be a temperature there where those coyotes just don't move. They don't want to move. And so my personal feeling is, I don't mind cold, but I also don't want to be necessarily going out when it's the coldest possible temperatures. I think the coldest I've ever hunted personally is about 37 below actual temperature. And I actually killed a couple of coyotes, but I had to get right on top of them and literally mouse squeak them in because they weren't moving. And so that's, for those guys who are out there.
So it's just not worth your time, pretty much, huh?
It's not worth your time. Exactly.
I went to Texas last year during that big freeze, and we thought we were going to kill it. Because we thought these coyotes are going to be hungry, the fox are going to be hungry, we're going to get mauled essentially. No, nothing was moving at all until it warmed up enough that everything started to melt and got super muddy, which made it a pain in the ass to get around. But then we killed like 7 fox in about 3 hours. I mean, it turned on like that, but they were not used to the cold. So
I'm sure somebody out there is going to say, I had my best night when it was the coldest I've ever hunted. And if you don't know this yet, there are no absolutes in coyote hunting. These are just things that Tom and I and Don and others have kind of gleaned of where we've been the most successful or when we've been the most successful, but there are no absolutes in coyote hunting.
I like that. Never say never and always in coyote hunting.
You don't kill any sitting on your couch.
That's right. Another question, Corey. What are your favorite sounds for calling coyotes during the late season? And I'm assuming they're meaning like now, probably.
Sure. Well, the
You
mate
don't
is
call
done.
coyotes
So
this time of year, do you?
if somebody's having calving issues, I will come in and help them out. So it's not like I don't. It's just not something I do on a consistent basis. But Tom knows how tight-lipped I am about what sounds I use. People on the forums kind of know that too. But I can
Probably why
definitely
they
talk and
ask.
kind of, yeah, exactly. I can talk in general terms at least. When I use the word triggers, I'm talking about the things that are going to activate a coyote. And, this is not rocket science, but things like, mating, social, territorial, hunger, those are your main triggers. And then inside of that, you've got your different times of year. So you've got pup rearing, and you've got denning seasons, and you've got mating seasons, and you've got dispersal times, all those things. And so whenever I go hunting, I'm thinking about what triggers am I trying to activate in a coyote? And so the question came in and said, okay, let's just say late winter, let's say it's mating season. Well, of course, that seems pretty obvious that, I'm going to be focusing on some mating sounds, but not all coyotes are going to mate. Your alpha and male and female are going to mate. A lot of your betas and other ones aren't going to mate. And so you're not just calling mating coyotes. And so, I may start off with some basic distress, but it won't take me long. And I'm going to roll into, different types of territorial mating sounds. Absolutely, to try, because that trigger is going to be strongest. And when I start calling coyotes, I'll try to figure out, I'll go through a series of sounds. I'm not going to play jackrabbit distress, then bird distress, then armadillo distress, and then raccoon distress, or whatever it is. I'm going to start maybe with some distress sound, see if anything is active. If nothing comes in, I'm then probably checking out the territorial trigger. Is something going to happen with that trigger? And, I'm going to work through my different triggers. And eventually, after a few stands, I'm going to find out which triggers are really key that night. And then on other stands, I'm probably going to be going within that sound category or type and really trying to figure out, even within that, which sounds seem to be the most active. The other thing I want to say is, let's say I'm on a stand and I've used some distress, prey in distress, and I've called 1 or 2 coyotes in and was successful at shooting them. I'm then going to keep that sound going for a little while. But once I feel I've called in all the coyotes I'm going to with that sound, I'll then move on to something totally different. Now, again, I'm not going to go from jackrabbit in distress to bird distress. I'm going to work on a different trigger. I'm now going to work on different coyotes in the area that didn't want my distress, but now maybe are trying to protect the territory, or they want to be social with me, or mate with me, or whatever that might be. And so I'm going to switch to a totally different type of sound. And it's amazing how often you will start then calling in coyotes again. And then after that lessons, or that's, I've called maybe 1 or 2 more in, I'm going to switch up to another totally type sound, and maybe I'll switch to a fight sound or something like that. And some more coyotes are going to come in, because there are different age classes. There may be different coyotes in different areas, and I may be calling them in so what I'm saying is, more than one trigger may trigger different types of coyotes.
Agree. You got to basically fire on all cylinders, right? And you never know what that's going to be. It's just like fishing. Sometimes you throw every lure you have in your box until you find the one that works. But then you stick with
Absolutely.
it till
But
it
now-
quits working.
Yeah, I don't know if I really answered the question, but again, late winter season, probably a lot of your vocalizations. I'm a heavy vocalization person. A coyote isn't always hungry, but a coyote's usually curious, and you can usually find some way to call in a coyote with some type of vocalization, because that's how they, just like you and I are communicating. That's their way of communicating with their pack members and rival packs and those kind of things as well. As you move into this time of the year now, mating is done and coyotes have denning on their minds. Even the coyotes that aren't the alpha coyotes are getting dens prepared. And so it can be a tough time of the year, but I focus more again on vocalizations this time of the year. It's more, greeting howls, really light, aggressive howling. And I'm starting to get into pup stuff. So I'm starting to get into the little pup stuff. They're smart, but it seems like, they know denning is happening. And even though it may be 2 weeks early, they don't sit there and go, man, those pups shouldn't have been born yet. So
Right. They're just going to respond.
It's instinct to them. It really is. And so whether they're coming because they want to kill a neighboring, pack's pups, or it's their own pups, or whatever they think it is, you're coming in during that time. But that's what I'm focusing a lot on this time of the year. For my area, because the winter is so bad right now, a lot of the coyotes, the game animals, the pheasants, the partridge, the deer are moving into the farmyards. And so guess what's happening? The coyotes are following them to the farmyards as well. Now you add the fact that the ranchers are maybe starting to calve. So my phone is literally, my texts are going crazy right now with my ranchers calling me saying, I've got coyotes coming
more
in.
coyotes than normal.
Exactly. Please come out right now. And so I can kind of tell how successful I've been through the fall and the winter. The people who are calling me right now, maybe I didn't get to their property enough. And the ones that didn't, I maybe did a better job of coyote removal in the fall and the early winter.
How long are your hunts typically when you go out for the night? Do you go out 8 hours, 10 hours?
It's a great question. I wish I had the luxury of walking out my front door or back door and be hunting. But I mentioned earlier, I drive at a minimum an hour to an hour and a half, at maximum, I won't say maximum, but there are some places I hunt that are about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive. So let's just say a 2 hour average. If I'm driving there, it takes me 2 hours and 2 hours back. That's 4 hours of driving. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to hunt as long as I can. If I can, I'll hunt from literally sundown to sunup. And there are even times when then I'll switch to daytime hunting mode and do a little bit of daytime hunting. But I will try to put in a full night if I can. And it kind of brings me to a topic I was going to mention. I don't know if anybody's going to ask, but it's always, what's the best time at night to hunt? And my answer to that is all the time. You will go some nights and you won't call a coyote in for hours, and a flip gets switched. And then you have action on every stand after that. And there are some nights I will see coyotes on every stand, literally from the first stand of the night to the last stand of the night. And so, coyotes, are active at dawn and dusk, and day hunters know that because that's when they see peak activity. But during the night itself, I've tried to track, moon rise, moon set, phase of moon and everything. And I've come to determine I just go hunting and don't worry about that.
They're pretty much active all night.
Yeah, sometimes you can't figure it out, so you just keep going.
Exactly.
Somebody asked if we're going to have vSHOTT discount for thermal pre-orders. So I'm assuming they're talking about these new LRF units. We always have a discount code. Just email us. Whether it's free shipping or can give you an actual discount on the unit. If you mention that you watched vSHOTT, that you're a member of AR15.com, that you're a member of the Korey fan club, we're going to give you a discount. Because we want your business and we want you to be able to save some money, you know, where you can. Sam Houston asked a question. He wants to know if my girlfriend, Leandra, has killed a coyote yet, or anything for that matter. And the answer is yes. She killed a tire last week when she hit a pothole. That's about it. She's not a hunter. She loves to shoot, and she supports me in what I do, and that's all I need. So Sam, there's your answer. She's a tire killer. Sorry, babe.
Here, I thought Sam was asking me a question, but I like the question even better. That was about Leandra.
No, he's going to mess with Tom every chance he gets.
Another listener wants to know, is it possible to get coyotes called too much so they ignore all sounds? Educated coyotes. What do you think?
It's the bane of every coyote hunter, and that's when I usually get the call.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, there's something that I call the 10 Commandments of coyote hunting. And one of the commandments I talk about when I talk about the 10 Commandments is, you know, watch videos. And, you know, there's a couple of guys, and they'll call in a few coyotes. And the first coyote gets shot, and then World War III starts. And they mag dump, and there's literally in a few seconds, you know, there's 10 or 15 rounds that go off. And I'm not saying don't do that. If you want to do that, that's your personal option. But what I'm going to tell you is, for me personally, especially hunting solo, and if you're hunting suppressed especially, that coyote got confused. It was coming in for whatever, to eat something, to, you know, meet something, to fight with something, and all of a sudden there was something that startled them. They don't necessarily know it's a gunshot yet. And so they naturally will run off. And you can usually tell by the body language of a coyote if it's going to stop. But a lot of coyotes, if you're patient and you wait a couple of seconds and you're ready, hit another sound, hit a pup in distress, hit a howl, hit a bark, hit a something, and they will stop. And I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm a much better shot. I'd rather take a shot at a standing coyote at 200 yards or even 300 yards than one with his tail between his legs going 25 miles an hour and you trying to hit them. And so this was a long answer at any distance. And so for me personally, I believe I get more multiples because I'm patient. I wait for a second and third shot. And also, even if that coyote doesn't present an opportunity, I'm getting back to the point here, by the way, but even if a person doesn't get a shot at that coyote is way more likely to be called back in at a later time than those coyotes that absolutely got dumped on by a rain of lead when they came in. And so, yes, coyotes can be educated. What do? Come in from a different angle, you know, call from a different position, try different sounds. You try to use different triggers like I talked about. I'm not talking about gun triggers, but the trigger to the coyote, what's going to make that coyote respond. Mm-hmm. You got to do different things. You can't expect to go back to the same properties time and time again, call from the same spot, do the exact same thing, and think you're going to call in coyotes consistently over and over with lightning jack or whatever you're. By the way, that's lightning jack has probably killed more coyotes than.
It's a good sound.
You know, a good sound, but you get what I'm saying is you just can't use the same sound over and over and over again.
Yeah. I'm going to share a secret.
Uh-oh.
One of the best sounds that I have found for educated coyotes, call shy coyotes, is ravens or magpies. And that's it. Not raven in distress, not a magpie in distress. I'll just set the Fox Pro out there and I'll turn on ravens or magpies and I'll mix them in with each other. Because an educated coyote may not come to any sound, but if he thinks there's a feeding frenzy and the ravens and magpies got there first, he's going to come check it out. Almost every time. it may take him 30 minutes, it may take him an hour, but they'll come in. Sometimes they come in fast and like with their tail on fire, and sometimes they come in slow. But usually that one sound will work if you're patient enough and can wait it out. Because they want to know what's going on. Ravens give them comfort, magpies give them comfort. Those type of corvids are always around when they're eating. If there's a dead cow, there's ravens or magpies somewhere close. And they're used to that. Sound gives them comfort. It creates a sense of urgency. They know if they lollygag too long, that whatever's there could be gone, eaten up. And usually they'll come check it out at some point.
That's a great tip, Tom. It does. You know, I think I said earlier, curiosity is one of their issues. They say curiosity killed the cat, but actually curiosity kills the coyote most of the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's take a couple more questions. We had some earlier.
Here we got another one popping up about the ravens.
Okay, yeah. Does raven sound work day or night? Good question. I've never used it at night. I don't think I've ever tried it at night, and it probably wouldn't work at night. I don't see ravens and magpies at night. They roost, and when you're out calling at night, do you see those corvids? I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, so I would say it's a daytime only sound, but it works really good crepuscular periods, right before sunrise, right after sunset, or all day. Let's see, another question here. Clip-on versus handheld thermals, what do you buy? Is anything new coming out soon? Well, we talked about some new thermal weapon sights coming out. I don't know of any new clip-ons. I have heard a buzz about somebody that's working on a clip-on. In fact, one of the companies that we sell, but we don't have any information on it yet. And I would anticipate that we probably won't have anything in our hands to test for probably 6 to 8 months at the soonest. So if you want to kill coyotes, don't wait.
Bering does have kind of a version 2 of the Super Yoter that will be out in the next month or so. We saw it at SHOT Show, and it's very similar to the current Super Yoter C, but it has video recording, but it doesn't have scanner ability. It allows for higher magnification, so you can use it with higher magnification scopes, but it removes the option to use it as a handheld scanner. And so that's one thing new of a unit that we will have in the next few months personally.
Okay. Another question, driving with nods. I like to drive with binos. I use these DTMVSs or DTMVGs because I'm old school. But I like to drive with binos. I feel like I can drive faster. Does that make sense?
You can see better, so yeah, probably.
I think when you have one eye aided and the other one is not, your brain is like a processor, and to me, it only processes about half as fast.
Yeah, when you have both eyes getting that information, your brain is getting information the way it's used to during the day. So you've got 2 images. Not that a PBS-14 is bad. It's really good for when you're walking around, out, especially out in the woods and stuff like that, like Corey does. But for driving, I'd rather have both eyes if I can. But like I said, if you have a 14 and that's what you got, it's no big deal. We've been driving all over the world with PBS-14s. But yeah, if the question is driving with nods, yes or no, absolutely, why not?
Especially if you have some IR on.
Yeah, exactly. You have the the Light Force ones on there or whatever. That's what I had on my 4Runner.
Yeah, Rock 40s.
Yeah, before I had the wreck, I had a bunch of those on the 4Runner, and that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, so you can see, you can drive, you can do all kinds of stuff.
I actually put one on a motorcycle, and I just go out and goof around with my nods on
Yeah.
on the motorcycle. It's so fun.
Put it on your 4-wheelers and go around. It's like,
Do whatever.
yeah.
Put it on a skateboard if I
I mean,
could.
with a light like that, you can get more speed because you can see better, you know, and that's what it's all about. It's like, how well can you see? So how confidently and safely can you drive? If the lighting's good outside, or we make up for it by turning on our lights.
Yeah. I can actually drive freeway speeds with my setup. Not that I do because I'm not on the freeway.
Not that you actually know that.
And I have done 50 down a dirt road with
Oh, yeah.
no problem at all.
Oh yeah.
My favorite thing
I've
to
done
do-
50 with somebody in the back seat that didn't have night vision on.
That's my favorite thing to do. I love to put that thing on.
They're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Don't worry about it.
Freak
We're
somebody
good.
out that doesn't have any.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Especially on a curvy road because it's like Magic Mountain. They can't see shit.
Yeah. Or if they can only see like right there. It's cool.
Good
So
times.
the answer is yes to whoever asked that question.
Corey, you've never done that, I'm sure. It's all business with Corey.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's all business. But you know,
Yeah, that's why he kills
one
all the
thing I-
coyotes, and we're just out there having fun.
One thing I will say is I agree with everything you guys say about nods. I'm the weird PVS 14 guy that if I'm in a vehicle, I actually like to have one eye that's not with my night
Oh, yeah.
vision. I can then see my speedometer. I can see, even though I've got it dimmed down, I can see everything in my truck with my unaided eye. And my brain, for whatever, maybe I'm so backwards that it works, but for me, I actually enjoy that because I like to be able to see what's happening around me peripherally, but still be able to be aided by my night vision eye. Now, I will tell you, I have to use night vision on my right eye. If I put it on my left eye, I couldn't do anything. It's odd. I mean, you got to really, I mean, Don, you could probably attest to this, but it really makes a difference, especially with a PVS 14, what eye you put it on. For me personally.
It can, definitely. Yep. Yeah. I'm so, conditioned over the years to wear a 14 on my non-shooting eye so that I had it available to use like my red dots if I needed to. But out on the range, I started, especially now that we do passive shooting and stuff like that, and I let one of my students use my TNVSs, so I was wearing my old 14, and I switched over to my dominant side, shooting side, and that's your strong. If that's your strong eye, then it does feel better. Yeah, but no, I get what you're saying. That's why a lot of guys walking around in the woods like to have that unaided eye, so you can see the ground in front of you and you have that depth perception, and as long as there's a little bit of starlight or moonlight, you can still see where you're going without tripping and falling, and you still got nods to see out there. It's great. I love this stuff.
One thing Corey mentioned is that he likes to see his speedo and stuff.
Yeah.
When I'm driving, I don't like to see anything.
I don't care.
So what I did is I took some cereal boxes and I cut out templates that cover my stereo, that cover my heater controls, that cover my speedo.
Yeah.
I don't want any light coming in at all.
Same here.
Because it's annoying to me.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I don't really care how fast I'm going. If I feel like I'm going a safe speed, I'm going a safe speed.
Exactly. And if you're chasing coyotes, any speed is safe. Another question we had is, are there differences in coyote behavior between night and day? The difference is night and day. What people don't understand, coyotes are, they'll go places and do things at night they would never consider during the day.
So they're a lot like us.
They'll cross a road that they would never cross. They'll go into the farmer's yard that they would never consider during the day. They become so much more bold and brazen at night. And in my opinion, that's what makes it easier to kill coyotes at night. I think you'll at least double, if not more, your kill percentages if you're hunting at night. I know you kill a lot during the day, Corey. I've seen it. But night is just, it's easier.
It is. I tell people, I don't know how many people who are listening fish, but I tell people don't night fish unless you know how to fish during the day. It comes down to equipment and everything else. It's kind of the same way, and I feel the same way about night hunting. But you're right; they're naturally out hunting. That's what they're doing at night. They're going to come in. A couple things about day versus night. So yes, I do kill coyotes in both. One of the differences is the locations I'm targeting. When I'm day hunting, I'm normally calling to some type of cover. They're not usually just out in the open, you know, in the middle of daytime, maybe in the wintertime if they're sunning themselves, but in general, they're going to be in some type of cover. They're going to be, where they're protected. And so when I'm daytime calling, I'm normally calling to some type of cover. When I'm nighttime calling, they've usually now left their cover and they're now out hunting other areas during nighttime. So I kind of reverse and I switch my hunting to now hunting more where they're going to be hunting at night. And so the locations I target are different day versus night. I also use more prey in distress at night than during the day because, again, they're naturally hunting. If it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, very rarely you're going to have a coyote come blazing in on some distress, prey in distress sound. They're not hunting at that point. And so I'm going to be using something totally different if I'm trying to get a reaction from them at that time of the day. But yes, nighttime, my numbers are higher on average at night than they are during the day. For me, it's not as drastic as the numbers you talked about. You'll see some guys on forums, especially where hunting is tough, really hard, pressured coyotes, and they may say it may be 10 to 1 or even more than that. For me, I would say it's not double what I can do day versus night, but it's definitely a higher percentage.
Yeah. In my area, I would say it's more than double. Utah coyotes are some of the smartest in the world, in my opinion. And the reason for that is because there's a $50 bounty on every single coyote's head. And there's a lot of guys out there trying it. There's a lot of new guys out there that don't know what they're doing, which is fine. I was there at some point too. We all learn at our own speed. But the coyotes
they're also learning.
During the day, they're freaking hard to kill. Yeah. And if you can kill coyotes in the day in Utah, you can kill them anywhere. But night has made it so much easier. There's no way that we would have called in 21 in the day.
Well, remember when we were hunting in Nevada, and the guys were like, "Oh yeah, that whole area, there's nothing out there." And I was like, "Well, it's because you guys go out there during the day, so they're aware of you." We went out there, and we only shot that one, I think.
But we were only out there like 35, 40 minutes.
We weren't out there very long, yeah, because we had stuff to do. And they're like, "You could, we just got out there. You called them in, we whacked them, we looked around." But yeah, and those guys from the team were like, "Yeah, we used to go out there, but there's nothing out there anymore." I'm like, "Oh yeah, there is."
They just don't move a lot during the day if they get picked on a bunch.
Yeah, because you've been shooting at them.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we get to the questions, Tom, but I did want to circle back on the sitting versus standing thing. Okay. I don't want anyone to think I'm against standing for coyote hunting. I think it's got its place, and I think the majority of nighttime hunters probably do stand. But it's the day versus night thing I wanted to bring up is coyotes see 7 times better than humans at night. So you can get away with a lot more at night than you can during the day, but they still see pretty darn good. Right. So if you don't have, I still try to break up my outline as much as I can. And, there are times on a real dark night where I may stand in the middle of a harvested field like I see so many guys do. But I don't get that luxury where I'm at very often just because of the terrain I hunt and, like you said, snow cover and stuff. You take a 60 to 100% full moon with a fresh bed of snow. You talk about getting busted by a coyote, they will pick you out in no time. Easy. And so I am, but if you are if you are daytime hunting, you better make sure you got a good hide and you better limit your movement. If there's one thing I can, give as a tip, again, one of my supposed 10 commandments of coyote hunting, coyote's eyesight is triggered by movement. Do not move when a coyote is looking at you. And number 2, A coyote's got more peripheral vision than a human does. And so you got to be careful. So, I mean, keep your movement to a minimum and have a good hide if you are daytime hunting, especially. And those things can hurt you at night if you deploy those same principles. You just get a little bit more grace at night than you do during the daytime.
Yeah, when I hunt at night, I still will set up in the shadow of a tree.
Yeah.
You know,
because
because
those towers.
there's some shadow from moon or even starlight. So don't think that just because you're hunting at night, you can employ bad tactics.
Exactly.
Another listener asked when we think 1280 resolution thermals will be common. I don't see it happening anytime real soon. Maybe in the next 5 years it's more common, but the price has got to come down before it's going to be super common, because people can't spend 14 grand on a thermal weapon sight. Some people can, but you know, most of us can't. So until that technology becomes more affordable, I don't think it's going to take place of, you know, the stuff that we have now that is affordable, in my opinion.
And I mean, the stuff we have now, I mean, over the past, I'd say 5 years, has gotten so good.
Yeah.
For what you're paying for it. I remember when none of this stuff was not even as good as it is, or as affordable. You know,
Yeah.
it amazes me how good the stuff coming out now that we have access to.
I think we've talked quite a bit of hunting. Let's go ahead and turn some time over to Don to talk about.
Oh, stuff we have coming up?
Yeah, and then we'll jump on the phone with Cobalt.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, before we do that, Corey, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. Keep killing
Good seeing
it.
you, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. Have a great vSHOTT and keep those barrels smoking.
Right
Thank you, buddy. Stay warm.
Dude, I could listen to him like talk about that stuff all night long.
He's got so much
track of time.
He's got so much knowledge, but we want to hear about what you got going on.
All right, man. Well, you know, I mean, we're busy. You know, the training stuff is going and just keeps on going. And, you know, I jokingly say my unofficial motto for this year is let's bite off more than we can chew and see what happens. And, you know, so that's, you know, and I'm living the consequences of that. But I put the word out through some of my back channels to some guys that I know some of you guys are watching. Some of you guys already know about this. But, you know, we did that Night Operations Summit last November, and it was a huge hit. It was so much fun. I loved it. I had to sleep for almost a week when it was over, but it was worth every bit of it. And I was privileged to be able to announce it here at vSHOTT last year, and here we are. And it is on the website, and it is live right now. Some people are already, some of the alumni. If you signed up on my website to get a heads up about it, you should be checking your email because it's in there. The link is in there. You got it earlier today. We tried to get it out as soon as possible, but that's out there. The alumni have been alerted. Now all you guys have it. It's on the Green Line website. It's going to be basically the same weekend as it was last year, which is the weekend prior to Thanksgiving. So it's 16, 17, 18, and 19. This year we're starting on a Thursday instead of Friday, so it's going to be 4 nights. And because of that, it's still going to be 3 nights of training, but the 3rd night we're going to stop the training, and we are planning the best range night ever. I don't want this to be just a range demo. It's going to be like the Ozfest of, you know, nighttime range shoots. It's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be fun. I'm adding a few instructors to the mix. Those of you guys that were there last year, I hate to disappoint you, but I have to step back and kind of be as one of the guys said, we need you to be the sergeant major of this thing instead of being so busy teaching. So I'm going to be going around. I might jump on the line and get some reps in myself, but we're going to invite or bring in more people or allow more people to sign up. So I have a few more instructors. Of course, Sam Houston will be there. He's also doing, on the first night, it's going to be what we're calling NightFighter Light. So it'll be longer than the standard 8 hours. You'll start earlier, but he's going to give sort of a one-day version of our NightFighter program. For any of you guys that haven't been able to do it or want to take something that would be a prerequisite for, that you can do that on the first night. And then he's doing his NV Rifleman again. Eric Butler's going to be doing Dark Lab. Eric Vargas is going to be doing clip-on stuff again, and he's going to mix it up and do it a little bit differently. John Jew will be there. Some of you guys really loved him. He's going to be doing one of our older classes that hasn't been done in a while that I'm bringing back is Zero Vis pistol, Zero Visibility pistol. He's going to be doing that, so super pumped. As far as guests, yes, John Dufresne, Duffy will be back, and he's doing some really fresh stuff. And so is Chris Sizlove. He's back. New guys that I've added, a name that a lot of you guys probably have heard of is Chuck Pressburg. He's a good friend of ours, good friend of mine. He'll be teaching some CQB, night assault type stuff. A couple of guys from out of Colorado that are Fieldcraft Defense is Billy Baxter, and his partner in crime, Jay, will be teaching some EDC, low light, no light pistol stuff. So we've got quite a bit of that type of stuff going on. Who else? Buck Buckner from Aimpoint, director of training at Aimpoint, is going to be teaching some low light stuff. It's going to be
all the big dogs out
dude,
there.
I mean, they're all the inner circle friends of Green Line, and
cool.
I couldn't be happier. A lot of the same sponsors, plus Aimpoint will be there. Magpul, OpsCore, TNVC, of course, is one of the big sponsors. Firearms Depot is the title sponsor again. Unity, all our friends. That's what I like. It's like I get to do this. I couldn't ask for a better job. I get to go shoot guns at night with all my friends.
Yeah.
That's what I do for a living. So that's great. I promised a lot of people that, hey, tune in. I hope to give at least give an announcement about something. And yeah, this is it. We're going to be doing it. And we're supposed to be getting a call from, Cobalt, who is also one of the big sponsors.
Yeah.
I guess here pretty soon. I don't know.
We'll get to talk
in about
to
10
them.
minutes. Gabe Cabrera from Cobalt. I guess we're going to talk a little bit about this thing right here and all that. But
Tell us again, location.
oh yeah.
Tell us cost.
So
and how they can get
the
signed up.
dates are, it's November, and if you just remember, it's the weekend prior to Thanksgiving, so you can still be home with the family and all that. It's after the time changed, so we get dark early. But it's at the GTI, same place we had it last year, the Government Training Institute in somebody pulled up the website for me right there. That's at the GTI in Barnwell, South Carolina. There is lodging on site, but there isn't going to be enough. So I'm throwing it out there right now. Aiken, South Carolina is where you want to look. It's like 30 to 40 minutes away, so it's a short drive, and all the decent hotels are there. It's going to be $13.50 this year. I had to raise the price a little bit. We're renting the place, the entire facility, for an extra day, and we got a lot more stuff. I'm talking to the same catering, so you guys were there. Like we did mailed out a questionnaire like, hey, what'd you think about it? I think the number one thing that everybody liked the most was the food. This lady that made the food, it was awesome. Everybody rolled out of there like fat. I think some people gained weight. The desserts were to die for, man. It was awesome. We had like home cooked meals every day for lunch. So same thing. A lot of the same people, customers or sponsors are going to be there. Like I said, one of the notable new ones is Aimpoint, that's committed to coming out.
It's a good price. It's comes to about $375 a night, which isn't bad
I mean,
at all.
it works
quality
out to
training.
maybe a little bit more than the average. I mean, our NightFighter's $700 too, so yeah, it is. And,
Yeah, but you're getting so much more experience. And
it's almost like a night fest too.
Yeah.
It'll
be a party.
Yeah, during the day. Yeah, I mean,
Party with guns.
it's serious, but we did hang around a big bonfire every night and have a couple beers before bed, and we're going to try to have even more of the lectures and TED Talks than we had last year. We had like one good one a day. I've got a lot more guys who've said, "Oh, I want to do this and that," so we may have a lot more of that going on and stuff of that nature. So I want to make sure that you guys have like plenty to do. I mean, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go to the this or that, but I want to make sure that you guys have lots of stuff that you can go get involved in and do. SOC F, Special Operations Care Fund, I'm super pumped. I mean, I'm headed up there to their big annual fundraiser tomorrow, but last year we raised like $10,000 for SOC F, and it was like a last minute idea.
Yeah.
So right now I'm deliberately planning, going to work with the sponsors, going to try to get somebody from SOC F to actually be present on site so we can actually get the word out, because it's one of those things that's near to me. I'm a recipient of that as well, so I really want to make an effort to help out there and just get the awareness out too. And so that's just the wave tops of what we have planned. So it went live a few hours ago, this evening, and it's hot. Go and get them. As a matter of fact, I'll give a shout out to John Micchio, who was the first person to sign up. So good job. I'm not surprised, by the way, John. It didn't shock me one bit when Molly told me about that. And and also a shout out to last year's #1 guy, because Glenn Armand always is like the first guy to jump on something cool with us. So actually, technically he was first because I awarded him a free slot for being such the loyal guy last year.
That's awesome.
John, you're not getting in free next year. That was a one-time deal for him. But yeah, I'm pumped. As you can tell, I can't stop talking about it. And it's probably all I'm going to talk about. We got a lot of other things too going on. We're starting to do some helicopter stuff with Paul that we've done things with, and I think that's going to evolve into a really cool relationship there, and all that's on the website and whatnot. And then we do stuff in the daytime too, and we got a lot of pistol courses on the menu, on the schedule, and you name it, we're doing it. So if you like to shoot guns, come out and hang with us.
Greenline Tactical, Don Edwards.
You got it, man.
We got another special guest here. Before we get to Gabe with Cobalt, I want to plug again the new night vision thermal hunting forum at ar15.com.
Are you like one of the moderators of it?
Well, I'm definitely going to be an integral part of that over there, and so is Corey. So if you guys liked what you saw tonight and the discussion that we had, there's going to be a ton of that over at the forum. Lots of videos, lots of discussion. And to launch that new forum, we've teamed up with ar15.com and TNVC, and we're going to be giving away a $5,000 prize package
Through there?
through ar15.com and on that forum. So we'll get some.
Are we supposed to be announcing any giveaways for this stuff?
We will.
Okay.
We'll
I don't want to let you forget.
We'll do it a little bit later.
All right.
Yeah,
when you said giveaway, I was like, well, wait a minute. Are we supposed to
We should give some stuff
away?
away. Yeah, we're definitely going to. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We're not even close to being
Stick around.
done.
Dude, I feel like we're just getting started.
We are going to give some stuff away, but go over to ar15.com, find that new night vision hunting forum and the new coyote hunting forum, and we're going to give some details out there. That's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a PVS 14, probably a Stalker Pro tripod and some other gear, but it'll be great for hunting or plinking or whatever you want to do. So we got Gabe here from Cobalt. He's ready to talk about this beautiful M81 camo rifle that they've donated for one lucky winner. So let's see what Gabe has to say and figure out what he's got going on. Hey,
What's
buddy.
up, buddy? I know where you are.
What up, boys? Yeah, right? This garage has held many secrets.
Yes.
What's up? How you guys doing?
We're great.
Good. What's going on?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Good. So what are we here to talk about? TNVC has procured some of these rifles, and we told everybody this is not the actual one they're going to get. I think this is Augie's rifle, so they don't get all of his stuff. But this will be
So we
the
gotta
giveaway,
give
I
away
believe,
that one
tomorrow night. So yeah, give this one away because it's got all the cool stuff on it. But I guess let's talk a little bit about this, since you're from the manufacturer. We know it's a Cobalt CK Pro. Has the the Roscoe
That one's the
13.7 purebred barrel,
Mhm.
right? Which you
So
and I
that one's
are
our,
intimately familiar with. Sorry, I keep cutting
So
you
that
off.
one's our 13.7 CK Pro. Our CK Pro line is our professional line. It's our entry into the higher end of what a duty platform should be, right? So, as you know, Don, all the parts and specs that are part of that platform have been meticulously picked out by Aaron, Mikey, and myself, from the barrel all the way down to the proprietary buffer system that we teamed up with Voltor on. So, what you're looking at there as far as the barrel is one of the 13.7s from the Roscoe purebred line, which, as you know as well, is pretty accurate barrel.
You and I have a lot of
I think
history in that barrel.
Yeah, a lot of history with all the barrels. So we've both seen, you know, a little bit over half-minute groups with a barrel that's, you know, probably not that widely known. So when we started testing stuff, we were really surprised with how the whole package went together. So the whole story behind that platform and the camo pattern and everything else, we had gotten with Augie right before the SHOT Show, if you remember. And he just kind of made a mention, man, you know, it'd be cool for the SHOT Shows at the booth, have something kind of like this. And, you know, Aaron doesn't sleep at all, I don't think. So before the show started, he laughs because he knows. Before the show had started, we had that one at the booth. I think that was the actual one that Augie had at the booth, correct?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is it.
That's the one.
It got a lot of
So-
attention too.
Right. And the camo pattern, I mean, I know you guys are looking at it from the comfort of your home can't. I mean, the video is not doing it justice. So all that has been hand laid, all the patterns by our in-house Cerakoter, Matt Hamilton, who's just an absolute animal. Not only does he
he's an artist.
do a superb M81, yeah, he is. Not only does he do a superb M81, if you guys remember, he's done the Cobalt Arid that we did for our receiver drop for July 4th last year. He comes up with stuff left and right. So that is about as close as you can get to M81, and also scaled to a proportion size that makes sense for that platform.
Yeah, that's hard
from
because
the-
you know you got to
Yeah.
make it smaller to fit on something like that, and it you know it looks a little different if you know are used to, like, if you're old like me and used to wear this stuff, but when you realize that if you use the actual pattern and the size of the pattern, it would be just like three pieces of paint covering the whole thing. So it's not it's difficult to do. So Gabe, man, can you? We got some questions here, and I think a lot of people would like to hear about a little bit of the story of Cobalt. You know, Cobalt used to make a little bit different type of rifle. My first experience with the brand was way before you and I were associated with it the way we are now, and it was entirely different than what we have now.
Right. So, I mean, the easiest way that I've been able to explain it, if you guys remember in 2014, there was that fad, I guess you could say at that time, the really shiny over-the-top rifles, the match type guns, the 3-gun type platforms. That was Cobalt. Cobalt started that trend back in 2014. You know, you can match the rifle to your Ferrari, I guess. But the funny part about that no one really knew, the Cobalt 1.0, we'll say that side of the company, they had really talented shooters on their roster, like Keith Garcia, and all those guys really put some great info as far as what the performance factor of the platform should be. So
Yes.
Aaron Quinn, who you guys have seen in probably more than a few podcasts by now, he bought the company in 2020, and he wanted to go in a new direction. He loved a lot of the, I guess, guts, you know, the blueprint on the inside of the platform, but he's like, look, this has to be practical. This is cute, but this is not sustainable. This is not what I'd want my son to have, you know, to protect himself. You can't rely on this long term. And that's where the platforms that you see behind me, I don't know if you can see clearly, that's how they were birthed. So we got two product families. We got the CK Pro, which we've talked about, and the CK SPR. And I got a couple little visual aids here to kind of walk us through it. So the main meat and potatoes of the platform is this right here, the upper receiver. We use billet aluminum And the main reason why is we can really do what we need to do with this platform, right? We're not confined to the traditional forge system, which depending on who you talk to, they'll tell you, hey, it's the best thing out there since sliced bread, but it's also a platform that hasn't been updated since, I don't know, JFK was in office, right? So what we did here was we machined an extension into the actual billet receiver, right? And we split the task.
Right.
So on a traditional AR receiver, what you see is a little bit of a 1/2-inch extension with wide threads, and then a steel barrel nut has to hold onto that barrel and the handguard. It's dual duty. If that barrel nut gets compromised at all, which can happen, right? It has happened to some people. You lose a barrel, you lose a handguard. The funniest thing is when companies say, hey, we have a non-rotating handguard, but the handguard is still bolted on to the barrel nut that rotated to get on there. So what we do here is we also, with the finer internal threads, right, and we also hold really tight tolerances on the barrel seating surface, we give it the truest form of free float that we could design, right? And the reason why we went with an aluminum barrel nut is so it's not competing materials. And then by the time this is torqued down, which, by the way, you don't have to torque this down to the 70 foot-pounds that you normally would have to do, or crazy numbers on a different system. By the time that barrel's torqued down, the handguard goes onto the upper receiver. It keys into the area in the front that's machined right there. So it's 100% clocked in at 12 o'clock. And then the 4.8 screw system bolts it right in. What you can't see is that those screws are actually angled and tilted forward about 2 degrees. That way, by the time they get torqued down, it actually sucks the handguard onto the upper receiver. The beautiful thing about that is
constant rear retention. Yeah, no, I was totally impressed with the first time I was able to see exactly how we put the uppers together.
Yeah, and then you have all these secondary and tertiary siding systems, offset red dots, all this stuff that would be a pain in the butt to have to re-zero every time you take your handguard off for standard maintenance, like I just did. Right? I could put this down, torque it to spec, and you're ready to roll. We call it the Sims system, right? But to me, it's the best thing since monolithic, because you have all the attributes of monolithic without the drawbacks.
Right.
Any AR-15
I mean,
barrel
technically,
goes
it's like semi-monolithic, but
yeah.
you have a choice of handguards and all that. You're not stuck with what's machined on there. No, that and what I would want people to also realize that you didn't really show was the barrel and the barrel extension fit up inside that extension on the receiver, and then the barrel nut slides and screws in over top of it. So one of the things that people have been concerned about over the past few years is handguard flex, and you virtually get none there. A couple of things. The barrel is actually more stable, I think, than a standard AR-15. But then also because that handguard has about, 3 inches of contact with the upper receiver, it's so much more positive.
2.5, 2.5, 3.
Yeah,
but then even
almost 3.
on a
That's what I
smaller
said.
system like this, where you would get, that's what you tell everybody, right?
Yeah.
But even on a smaller platform like this, that you would get flex all over the place. It's rock solid. This one's a little 7.5 inch,
not there.
300 black. Yeah, and that's what paved the way for the SBR platform. You can't make a barrel more accurate, but you can give a barrel the best chance at mechanical zero out of the box. That's why people still lap certain, bolt actions before they put on the barrel so they can trim the face. We're doing that out of the machines. That's something that really hasn't been brought as far as a out-of-the-box production item. You usually have to have a custom gunsmith take apart your gun, lap the surface, if they're even doing it right? I know we've had in-depth conversations about that. And then you get what you get, and you don't get upset. Here we have quality control behind it, and Mikey will throw out whatever he doesn't like.
Yeah.
So,
people don't realize
it's a very
how
stringent
inherently
process.
accurate free float AR-15 like this really is. Everybody thinks that the bolt gun's the only way to go, but with this new technology, these are just as accurate as a bolt gun.
Well,
yeah, the
especially bolt guns
18-inch 6mm arc.
15 years ago.
Yeah, the 18-inch 6mm arc that Don has now. one that I got you at the summit. I had tested that one before I gave it to Don at our range over in St. George. I think without even trying, I hit 12 something, close to 1300 with Aaron on the range, and I wasn't really even trying. I mean, it's obviously the gun, it's not me. So between the technology of these new calibers,
has been running that almost identical gun for a while now, and he's like, 1,300 yards is boringly easy with that rifle. It's just a laser beam, and that's a gas gun.
Yep. Yep.
And
then behind
me, also you
guys.
guys. Cobalt uses the A5 buffer system, which has also been redesigned a little bit and enhanced by Cobalt. It's one of those situations that I would say is it's more than the sum of its parts. It's got a lot of little things that add up to even more.
Yeah, and I got it right here. So you guys can see. So the main thing is our design engineers teamed up with the guys over at Voltor. And we had a proprietary buffer system in, I guess, I would say the CK Pro 1.0 before the newest version right now.
Yeah.
And it was a great buffer system, but it wasn't user-friendly. There were too many configurations for it where the random bubba would lose half the parts. So we wanted to make something that was truly drop-in and just set it and forget it, right? And so what we did was we teamed up with the guys over there. We changed a couple things, but the one outside difference that you could tell right there, that little raised surface on the top of the buffer, that sits inside of a BCG. Let me get one here. I got it on the bench. 1 second. That sits inside of the BCG right here for 2 reasons. One, it reduces carrier tilt as this is moving back and forth, right? As it's going through its reciprocal cycle. It reduces that cavitation. That's a form of recoil. So it's almost like a captured guide rod on a Glock. On top of everything else, as you can see, it sits a little proud inside of the BCG. It doesn't sit 100% flat. That also gives it a certain amount of preload. Part of the movement that you get is when the carrier is in resting phase before the whole cycle of operation happens. There's that gap between the back of the BCG and the front of the buffer where it slams into it. Here, there's constant contact the entire time. So any movement that is unnecessary, we've been able to control without compromising the system. If anything, it just feels and cycles a whole lot smoother, right? It's a refined system now that's not going to hinder anything. It's not going back to the Cobalt 1.0 years where it was too much of a game rifle, right? And if you put it in austere environments, it's going to choke. Here, we're trying to throw everything we can at it and making common sense changes and upgrades to it.
Yeah. Speaking of Ferraris, that gun is just, it's awesome.
Well, it runs like, it shoots like a dream. I've got a few Cobalts, and I've had or shot a lot of them over the past about 2 years. I shot over probably 20,000 rounds through these guns, and no issues. I mean, hands down, these are like the smoothest shooting ARs that I've ever shot, and I've shot most of them. I've shot a lot, anyways.
Yeah.
And like have used a lot of these 13.7 barrels over the years. Actually, had a hand in talking about these things and helping them come about with Gabe at one point in time. The 13.9 now is like, dude, I've done everything from straight up close shooting to prairie dogs at 550 yards with that thing, and everything I put in it, it's run. That's not the one I used. I used a shorty when I was hunting with Tom because I needed something I could put a can on, and it was a little bit easier getting out of your Tacoma.
My small truck.
Yeah, your little truck. Your little truck when I was the shortest person in there, and I'm 5'11". I'm little compared to you guys.
But speaking of 13.9s, you should recognize this barrel, Don. It's a Don special in here.
Does it have my name on it?
This one
Does it have my name on it?
It says Fast Eddie on it.
It says the Don. That's what I know what it says. It says the Don.
The Don.
There's
You
about
better know.
20 of those barrels in the world.
Well, Gabe, you've given us a ton of info. Give us one or two sentences of the advantages to buying a Cobalt rifle before we let you go.
Sure, and I thank you guys for letting me get on here. Really do appreciate it. I would say it's the best value that you could find in a high tier platform. The numbers don't lie. With a 2450 MSRP, lifetime warranty, and all of the accoutrements that our platform comes with, which have been handpicked for a certain performance factor, not just to have name brands on it, put us against anyone that's in the limelight right now. Compare the numbers, compare the specs. Even something off the shelf like a certain company out of Georgia, we're the best value that you could find. And if you find a better value, hit us up, and we'll try and match the price. We're really adamant about what we're producing right now, and the results don't lie either. Thanks to guys like Don, Duffy, Joe Farewell, the guys over at Condition One Group and GBRS have been helping us out a lot.
Well, there you have it. I'm actually a Cobalt owner too.
No, did
I
you get
don't
one of
have
these?
it yet,
Yeah.
but I got one coming to my FFL.
Nice,
So
nice.
I'm super excited about it. I know
You
Don's
should
a
put
big
that
fan.
new thermal on it.
That's a great idea. Hey Gabe, thanks for coming out. We appreciate
man.
your expertise, and always good to see you.
I'll
Likewise.
see you tomorrow afternoon at the SOCF Sporting Clays fundraiser.
I'll be bringing some of my aunt's cigars for you, buddy.
Oh, good. I got some Cuban missiles with me.
Hey, thank you
That
for the
made me-
donation. We're very excited to give one of these away, and we couldn't do it without you, so we appreciate it. Folks, we're going to
I
watch
love you
a
guys.
throwback
See you,
reel
buddy.
from Don's NightFighter video, and then we'll be back with a panel discussion, ask your questions, and win some prizes. Coming right soon.
I joined the Army in 1987. Went straight into the Rangers. Spent 4 years in the Rangers from 88 to 91. During that time period, I participated in Operation Just Cause down in Panama and had a slight break in service. After that, I ended up joining the Special Forces through the Florida National Guard and went off to the SFQ course, various things. I spent a total of just under 13 years active duty time in the 20th Special Forces Group. I spent some of that time deployed overseas, 2 different deployments, one to Iraq, one to Afghanistan, and a lot of time working as a counter-drug surveillance operator. I retired in 2010 as a Master Sergeant, as a Team Sergeant from 20th Special Forces Group. The reason I chose the Special Operations community was the more that I looked into this, the more I knew that I really wanted to be associated with teams of people that really took what they did seriously. For law enforcement, night vision gives them the ability to see in the dark. That ability to see in the dark enhances their ability to make decisions. When they can see something that's getting ready to happen before it happens, because they're the only ones that can see in the dark. If you can identify a threat before that threat identifies you, he's no longer a potential threat. You can choose not to engage him. You can choose alternate methods to engage him. Gives you the ability to make lots and lots of different decisions. The bigger advantage you have in a tactical operation, the greater the chance that it's going to go off without incident. being able to see in the dark is a key part of that. Being able to see what's happening without turning on a white light or turning on a light is huge when it comes to being able to dominate and control a situation. My philosophy when it comes to training people is to try and really give them what they need. A lot of people want to do what they want to do or they think they need or whatever. I like to really help, especially in the professional environment, I like to help them down a path that makes them better than they were yesterday. Level, a lot of people have night vision equipment, but they've never taken any training. I'm not saying you have to come take a class, but it's kind of like owning a musical instrument and never learning how to play it. There are certain things that you can figure out on your own, but there are certain things that you might as well learn from somebody who has spent a lot of time sorting this stuff out and figuring it out. So acknowledging that it's a good idea to actually learn how to use something is a big hurdle for a lot of people. I see that a lot in the law enforcement community. They don't use equipment that they have because they don't really understand what it brings to the table. As soon as they start getting some training and learning how to use it and actually bringing it out and training with it, then it no longer gets left in the gear bag or in the trunk of the car. It comes with them on the operations, and they tend to find opportunities that it comes in handy where they wouldn't have before because it wasn't something they were thinking about.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for thank you to Corey and to Gabe, and thank you to Tom and Don for the Night Goggles takeover. We're about to launch back into the virtual circle bar, aka the virtual panel discussion. But before that, quick reminder for everyone. Obviously, we had Gabe talking about the grand prize, Cobalt Kinetics CK Pro. But if you want to be registered, if you want to be entered for any of the giveaways that we've got going on, and we've got quite a few giveaways going on tonight, as well as the grand prize giveaway. Exclusive links and coupon codes for vSHOTT. Remember to head to tnvc.com/vSHOTT, vSHOTT, and make sure that you register. We have a nightly e-blast every night that has those links and coupon codes, and there's some pretty sweet stuff in there. We don't usually talk about it on the air because hey, you gotta be registered. You gotta get signed up so that you can receive those. So there's periodically complaints about Augie talking a little bit too much, and consequently we don't get through nearly enough questions. So we are going to try a little bit of a Q&A lightning round. We're going to go through a couple of questions. Some of them have been submitted live. Some of them were submitted in advance, and try and knock them out real fast. And I will try and keep my mouth shut as much as possible, unless I've got something succinct to add. So, all right. Starting off, best mounts for PVS 14s. Who wants to take it?
Oh heck, dual dovetail and INVG, and or I mean my favorite is Wilcox arm, dovetail arm, and G24. But a lot of guys I know that do it, they prefer the dual dovetail and INVG for that. Otherwise, we can stick with bayonet. What is it? The Wilcox.
Yeah,
G11.
G11.
Yeah. You know, that's as far as bayonet goes. That's the only decent way to run it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna stick with a PVS 14 and a PVS 14 only, I mean, dual dovetail and INVG.
yeah.
is,
Upgrade this
You
to
got
a
5 seconds on
any
you.
kind of dovetail. All right. Yeah. But those are really your only options. But yeah, if you're gonna stay PVS 14, do yourself a favor. Spend it. You won't regret it. Go dovetail. Either way, if you're a Wilcox or a Naruto's, it doesn't really matter. They're both the way to go.
That wasn't very lightning round. I don't.
Yeah,
think.
okay.
It's not lightning
Next,
enough.
unlimited budget. Super Gang DTMVS. Ask me how I know.
I mean,
Well, actually, maybe Panos.
yeah. Unlimited budget. What would your dream and
Unlimited budget.
Panos in a Tad or Decody for me. That'd be
Super Game tubes.
Yeah, with Super Gang too.
Why not? I mean,
Yeah, that'd be it.
Which eye's better to wear PVS 14, dominant or weak? I like to wear it on my weak eye.
Really dominant for me.
I prefer dominant.
I
Well,
refer to it as your shooting side or your non-shooting side, and the answer in my book and in my class is it depends. If you're running tall mounts and you want the ability to shoot through the tube, or as we say passively, you got to wear it on your shooting side, or it won't work. If that's no big deal to you and you want to be able to flip to white lights and red dots quickly, then non-shooting side's the way to go. Or if you're just walking around stargazing,
Yeah.
shooter's choice.
You know, in the backtrack to the mounts, I mean that's something. So
No, you can't go back.
well, right. Well, the dual dovetail. The only thing I don't like about it is you can't really switch eyes easily. So that's where like the
You
Wilcox.
do have to take it off to
Yeah,
switch.
the Wilcox arm with the G24 is the way to go that way because then you can just pick whichever one you want.
Yeah, it is real easy to switch.
Yeah.
But those are the reasons you might choose one or the other.
Yep. What's the next one?
What advances? Wait a minute here. Oh.
well, you're reading from the bottom. All right.
She keeps deleting the top one, and I don't realize.
Plans to sell or manufacture more night vision
That's all
units in something other than black. I mean, the Artemis comes in FDE is standard, and GPNVGs come in FDE is standard.
RVGs.
Yeah, I mean, so there's, I mean, one of the issues is black is just black is hard to argue with. Black is just easier to
Well, and the
produce.
manufacturers make the housings.
Yeah.
generally black.
Yeah.
But I mean, but now Alex at Nicorium makes just about anything you want to wrap it with. That's what's cool. There's no need to like Cerakote it anymore or spray paint your stuff. Get some wraps. If you don't like it or you get tired of it, get a different kind.
Yeah, we have
It's
different colorways at night goggles too.
Yeah.
If guys are really interested in doing something wild, tell them to just email us.
Yeah.
Sales at nightgoggles.com or.
Yeah. But I'm just like now that the wraps are so easy to do and stuff.
So I mean the wraps, I mean I have a love-hate relationship with the wraps because they're like a marketer's worst nightmare because like anytime like anytime that's like, oh well, I'm doing something
Little Mermaid.
You
You can't go wrong.
So I'm just constantly putting new wraps on, taking wraps off because it's like, well, all the uniforms are multicam, so I gotta put the multicam wraps on, or I've gotta get the.
That
So
sounds like a
matchy,
personal
matchy.
problem.
well, an OCD marketer standpoint, yeah, it is absolutely a personal problem. Like I said, freaking nightmare.
All right, so get some wraps. Drive Augie crazy. What's the next question?
How will tube price and availability be affected as demand from consumers continues to rise? So, I mean, the demand for the demand for night vision, demand for tubes. I mean, it kind of ebbs and it ebbs and flows based on a lot of different things and a lot of different factors on the market. not all of which have anything to do whatsoever with the U.S. commercial market. I mean, I'm sad to say, there are law enforcement customers, there are U.S. military customers, there are international customers. So, two major things that have happened relatively recently to affect the supply and demand of image intensifier tubes is GWAT ends. War in Ukraine begins. Slightly different demand for products, but there's some overlap, and it's
still
one.
felt it.
It's one very difficult for I mean, and this probably goes for the firearms and tactical industry as a whole, but there's so many things that are so many things that happen in the marketplace that are predicated on things that are just absolutely outside of our control. Political events. I mean. Even all of this COVID nonsense, who frickin' predicted that, and what it was going to do, the night vision market particularly, and that was one of the interesting things that we saw, and that I think, even guys that I talked to within the firearms and tactical industry as a whole, there have been panic buying sprees before, but it was usually about some sort of political thing where it was, one particular thing that might get banned. Everybody, wanted to rush out and get it. I mean, with COVID, especially early on, nobody had any idea what the hell was going to go on. First of all, people started finally realizing what we've all been saying for coming on 2 decades, if not more here. At very least
It's a lightning round.
Yeah.
It's a lightning round.
So in other words,
it's dark half the time.
it's dark half the time. If you don't have night vision, you're missing out on half of the
There
action.
you go.
Next question.
I didn't realize what lightning means.
Yeah.
It's like
So the next, we're going from the top down, right? We're going to way down, or we're going to way up? I don't even know.
Pick it. Yeah, just
What
All
are
right.
advances do
Moving
you
on.
see coming in the near future? I'll throw something out there, because one of the things, and I think part of that last question was about cost, right? Our tubes keep getting better and better and better. And I've casually observed that about every 2 years, there's a noticeable jump in performance capabilities.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers on the tubes and stuff like that, what you have to look forward to is better and better stuff that is, in theory, basically going to stay about the same price. And what I tell people when they say, when's it going to become affordable? I'm like, when you were a little boy, your dad would have never been able to afford even night vision that you would throw in the garbage right now. 20 years ago, the U.S. government paid $7,500 for a pair of PBS 7s that I would smash on the ground just because we were live, right? Yeah. Now, for that kind of money, you're getting dual tube, you're getting all kinds of awesome stuff that is so much better. And, oh, by the way, that's not as much money now as it was back then. Yeah. So that's really, as we earn more money, the technology has gotten better and basically about stayed the same price. That's what I have to say about that, and that's what I think I have to say about what do you have to look forward to. You have to look forward to better, more innovative stuff.
In 5 to 10 years, maybe digital.
Maybe, but I've been. What was I saying? I was been saying that for almost 20 years, man. When I started doing night vision training about 15-ish years ago, we thought any day now we're gonna all switch to digital.
You'd be driving your flying car with your digital night vision.
But that's not the case anymore. So
Yeah,
Fusion, I think Fusion's going to get better. We're seeing with the TAD, it's getting less expensive and stuff like that. You're gonna, the things that the military is asking the industry to make are going to trickle down. Because that technology is being built. But anyway, lightning round.
So the
I
lightning
took up
round
all your
question
time.
is, night vision is affordable right now. It's not cheap, but it's affordable.
Dude,
Yeah,
but it's so much cheaper than it used to be.
This lightning round isn't as easy as it seems, right? You get a question like that, and there's so many ways that you can go. All right, when will Acton Black introduce a manual gain DTNVS? I mean, they've got.
I don't know. Ask them.
I mean, they've got versions, they've got prototypes. I mean, the thing that you got to remember about Acton Black is that they are based in the EU, and that's their primary marketplace. I mean, they're coming if there's demand. I mean, they've been built. They actually require some special order tubes in order to do it, because they're not doing it the way some of the modern systems or some of the more common systems do that are just using that PVS 14 EGAC. But anyways, lightning round.
What's it like running a company with high-end valuables? It can be stressful, but it costs a lot of money to put this equipment on the shelves for you guys to buy.
Yeah.
It does.
Not everybody can do this, and not everybody can do it at the level we do it, because it takes a lot of money to keep us in business.
Yeah. I'll do the next one.
Will we see more panning binos in the future? God, I hope not, but probably.
Yeah.
See, that was like
Okay, yeah.
Has tech changed to prevent blindness when hit with white light? I
wait,
mean,
man. Look, Google auto gating. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Who asked that question? Unless you mean something else, come to my NightFighter course. We'll go over all that. But yeah, auto gating. We already have that.
Right,
You're not going to hurt them.
There's something on the market for someone who wants both articulating and panning.
not currently available on the market.
Yeah.
What may be developed in the future, can't necessarily speak to. I know that some prototypes have been shown, but I mean, you know, you talk about like SHOT Show and everything like that. People go there to show prototypes. It happens a lot. We've done it before.
Does it need to exist? No, it does not need to exist.
This next question, this guy, it's just an ARFCON. I think it's the same guy. If it's you, yeah.
What? Why don't articulating
Yeah.
invis goggles exist?
Well, ASU NVG,
they do have.
It's not alive though.
Well, it's. I mean, that's an interesting program too. I mean, the long and short of it is that they're articulating goggles. While at the end of the day, in a ground application, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to articulating goggles. A lot of folks love articulating goggles. It does complicate optical alignment a little bit. It does complicate collimation a little bit, and aviators in particular are very kind of picky about that kind of thing. Also, when you have, I mean, at the end of the day, most articulating goggles do have some sort of friction component to keeping that thing, sticking up. And, if you've ever been in a rotary wing aircraft or something like that, I mean, you're going to experience some vibration. And I think, some of it may just be a trust and confidence thing. Some of it may be a psychological thing, and some of it might just be the fact that the AVS-6 was introduced in like 1989, and I mean we had a SOAR guy here earlier today talking about still using AVS-6.
He's got on film white phos tubes.
Yeah,
right.
It's the same housing.
One thing too is that a fixed bridge. In my mind, a fixed bridge goggle would be better for that, because what if you smacked it or something, and now you got a pod that's all dicked off on you versus staying really easy.
Well, I mean,
I suppose if the aviators said they wanted it, that somebody would make it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they probably would, but again, they haven't. I mean, that's the other thing is the AVS-6. I mean, it is, yes, there are other designs on the market that have pros and cons, and people have different preferences, but functionally, fundamentally, I mean, the AVS-6, the Anvis is still a good design.
Yeah.
Yes, it was designed for, use in the cockpit. It's not as ruggedized as dedicated ground goggles, but in terms of, I mean, it's just a good design. It has to have been. It's almost 40 years old at this point.
It just works. I mean,
Somebody asked a question I think we kind of already talked about there. Will Gen 3 night vision retain value for the next decade, or will prices fall? I mean, that's what I was talking about, was how this stuff continues to get, prices for about the same amount of money as you could buy the PVS 7 20 years ago. For what can we get for $7,500? We can get a set of, for less than that, you'd get a set of XLSH RNBGs.
Middle and level binos are.
I mean, in the used market, maybe.
Well, I mean,
holding value, are they going to go down? The quality is going to keep going up.
Yeah.
And the price is going to be market value, I guess. So that's really hard to say.
Well, I mean so here's the thing: the more people get into the market, the more guys that are going to be out there selling used stuff.
Yeah.
And the more guys that are out there selling used stuff, I don't want to say cheaper, but the more affordable, the more affordable this stuff starts getting. I mean, I started my, I guess you would call it my night vision journey. I started with used gear, used green tubes. I mean, like, many people started with, surplus ITTs and building goggles around those. I mean, and yes, so, I mean, some of the things, because at least I personally do try and keep an eye on the secondhand market and what things are selling for. I mean, and I've said many times on... I've said many times online, and I've said many times, in events like this. I mean, give me a set of good, good duels, even if they're 20 years old. I'm good to go. It's yes, I love my unfilmed white phosphate.
Have we become a little bit? Have we become a little bit snobbish?
But
well, I guess I got to answer the next one there. It says, what is the best piece of advice that I can give a student as far as mindset when coming to class? And I'm going to assume maybe you're talking about NightFighter course or whatever, but so I would say if you're going to come, train with us at Green Line, whether it's, especially if it's a NightFighter course, be proficient during the day. One of the things, like we talked about hunting, if you can't fish during the day, you shouldn't be fishing at night or something like that. Yeah. Don't show up to your first formal firearms course being a NightFighter course. Be an experienced student of the gun prior to that. You'll have a much better experience. Have your optics at a minimum zeroed and confirmed and stuff like that. In my classes, we will do the lasers, but you need to have your red dots or whatever done. That's the best thing that I can say is be prepared like you would for a day class and have experience going to those day classes. And you'll have to worry about less crap as far as running the gun and your equipment. Be familiar with all that stuff so you can learn what you're there for. And I'd say the same thing extends to any of the daytime classes. You don't have to be an expert because that's what you're there to the class for. But try to have your gear zeroed, have your stuff squared away as much as you can. Do some research and be ready just to have an open mind and take notes. Vic says hi. Yeah. Hi, boss. Hey, Vic. Hey, Vic. Wish you were here, man.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, what countermeasures are most effective against night vision? All right, this is supposed to be lightning round, so we could go, we could go down a lot of rabbit holes. But I mean, I would say
EMPs.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the best countermeasure is good soldiering. All of the things that you would do to kind of keep out of sight, in the field. That's going to be your number one. Good discipline, both personal and professional, as well as light discipline and all of that. I mean, that's going to be the most effective thing. You
do everything with your eyes closed so there's no eye showing from the IRI.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of little tricks, like if you understand, photonic barriers and, how to defeat them, you can also start to think about how to use them to mask your own movement, stuff like that. But like I said, camouflage works both day and night, even through night vision. Minimize your usage of the lasers and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons that we're so into the passive through the tube shooting and stuff like that to try to minimize that. And that's about it. Just like be disciplined. Don't think, again, like we said during hunting discussions, don't think just because it's nighttime you can stand out in the middle of the field and nobody's going to see you.
It was cool. Last night when Doc was on and he was talking about how guys, if they would just move slowly forward and just have as little movement as possible, how that worked pretty effective to get guys up to like 50 meters or something. I was like, that's pretty interesting. I never really thought about that, but it's true. I mean, especially on darker nights. I mean, night vision, you need movement a lot of times to detect something, and if you're just not really moving, I suppose that would work pretty good. But until somebody turns on their thermal, then you're pretty much fucked.
All right, Will, what's the most annoying question you have?
Yeah, so I would say, I'll be honest with you, I mean, I hate to say that, but
You don't have to name names.
because honestly, you guys don't annoy us all the time, but probably when somebody calls and asks if something's in stock when the website says it's in stock, but I definitely feel for guys who they want to make sure, double check, but it's like, man, if it says it's in stock on the website, now if it says in stock, one left, okay, I would call, but if it doesn't say that, it's going to be in stock. You know what I mean? So,
So
I specifically tell people that on the phone. When they ask me if something's in stock, I don't know, call Will.
yeah, well, that's why I get all those calls.
That's great. One skill you want to work on the most. Man, that's pretty open-ended.
Yeah. Interesting ways
Let me
to
think. Yeah,
to answer.
juggling,
Interpersonal
tying
tact.
cherry stems in a knot.
All right. That's a good one for Don.
What?
Favorite drill to practice under knots.
Oh, I shoot the Xbox all the time.
Yeah. Tell them what's the Xbox. Don?
Shoot, they got to go to class.
Yeah.
They'll learn it.
Or apparently find back issues of UN12.
Or yeah, it's all over the internet. But no, it's shooting on the move exercise. We do it in shoot, not just NightFighter. We do it in pretty much, well, not everything, but if it's class we do any shooting on the move, we'll shoot the Xbox, and it's super fun. It's, as they would say, hella fun under night vision.
Yeah.
Powered rails.
Our powered rails where we're headed with helmets. I mean, powered rails is where some folks, where some organizations are headed with helmets. I will say, we've obviously we work closely with Ops Corps and seeing, the rail link system. It is a very nifty, fantastic piece of gear. It is not going to be inexpensive. But it's got a lot of great capabilities, and they've got a lot of things in the works.
But
that
I don't think it's gonna replace everything we have now. I don't.
No,
I mean it's a niche kind of thing. Yes, it may get popular, and it may become common, but I don't think it's gonna be the only way we do things.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, 10 years, who knows? I mean, we might be shooting rail guns, or what was
We're all going to be
40
using
40
digital
watt
night
range.
vision,
We might
and
be.
powered rails,
We might be,
and caseless ammunition. Yeah.
Who knows? Or not. So I don't know. I mean, we know it's out there, because Ops Corps got it. But is it going to replace what we have now? I doubt it. At least not anytime soon.
I mean, how do you feel about? I've always thought redundancy of at least having other batteries and stuff is good, but I've always wondered that. I'm just kind of like, I don't know how I feel about everything running off of the one battery pack. But.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the people that these types of systems are designed for. That's not really that big of a problem, because if something happens, they just get a new one.
Yeah.
They're not as worried about the austere environment, because they have massive support systems behind them and stuff like that, and lots of money. Best spec you've seen in a set of nods. I have 41.2 SNR in one of my Super Game tubes. That's pretty decent, I think.
Yeah, especially the Super Game.
Yeah, that's pretty happy with that.
Speak up.
I'm being told to talk louder. Yes, I have 41.2 SNR tubes.
Yeah, suck it.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I don't have any of them. I mean, the folks at from L3 Harris have shown me some pretty interesting things. Some of which we hope to be able to share with you. Actually, Super Game came out of something very similar to that. Yeah. But I've seen some crispy tubes, some spicy tubes. I think
That's become a technical term.
Yeah,
I do have. I
Thank you, Facebook.
I do have a spec sheet that the engineers at L3 say is technically impossible, and they're not really sure how I got that spec sheet. But it's a 102 line pair resolution, so which does interesting things to
You got the
FOMs
data
as well.
sheet that you.
No, I have the tube.
Oh,
The tube's sitting back there on the so I think it's
It looks good though. So.
yeah. I mean, it looks
it's still
looks
Yeah,
But
freaking
that
awesome.
skews the FOM like crazy. It's probably a 64 line pair or something like that, right?
yeah.
Or no, you said it's 100 what?
101.
Wow.
Line pair's 100,
What's
102.
the SNR?
102.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I don't know. I mean, we talk about specs and everything like that, but I mean, the reality of it is, and I see that there's other questions coming about specs. I'm not a spec whore. Personally, I'm not.
Says the
that
guy with the
guy.
102 line pair too.
Well, sometimes you have it because you can.
Yeah, I mean, and
we have a saying that I'd rather have a Ferrari with a couple of scratches than a mint condition Yugo.
Yeah.
I'll take some blims, and have
Yeah.
some high performance tubes, because the point of this stuff is to see in the dark. And if I'm spending this money, the better tube I can get, the better I can see in the dark. However, at some point, you're chasing your tail. Good. At some point, good enough is good enough, and I can see in the dark. It's fun to flex on your friends.
And with enough IR light, any tube looks good.
Yes. Turn that key
Or
on.
enough moonlight. Yeah,
Turn that key on and everything's good. Yeah.
Let's give away some stuff.
All right, what we got?
Yeah.
Now we got to stop. Okay. I'm on a roll.
Well,
Yeah.
but this is a lightning round, so
Okay.
when you get on a roll is exactly when we have to stop ourselves.
Stop telling me what to do. What are we giving away?
So, all right. Well, so we talked about it. We talked about it last night a little bit, but it turns out we forgot to actually give one away. So let's go with the Blue Force Gear BNVD pouch, that night vision pouch that Chris Sizlove was so very good to. Yep. So did you see this?
I've heard of this.
Yeah, so it's Blue Force Gear made it for a government organization to wear on their person full time. But so it's got a dust cover and a little flap.
Had it all the way
Yeah.
around too.
I'm not going to see one of those.
Well, you better.
I should have registered.
Right, exactly. You better be signed up for the e-blast because because Blue Force Gear is making them available exclusively for
we got a winner for this.
yeah. But Caleb A, you will be receiving a Blue Force Gear BNVD pouch for free.
All right, dude.
Congrats,
So
Caleb.
he's going to get an email.
Yes. Yep.
So watch your email, Caleb. Awesome. Dude, that's cool. I'm going to have to talk to them. Let's see. Order one.
All right.
Gonna do another one?
How do us folks work directly with manufacturers to come up with solutions to problems or obtain these solutions, i.e. Supergain? How do we work with them?
A lot of times it starts out like this, when
Yeah.
we're all just, I wish we had one of these, or I wish we could solve this problem. And then everybody kind of throws in some shitty ideas, and somebody comes up with a decent idea, and then everybody else kind of like, yeah, we could do that, and
Who
maybe
would make
this.
that?
And
Who would make that? It depends. I mean, this question says, for example, Supergain. Supergain kind of evolved, I think, from
Well,
a different way. That wasn't a solution that was worked with by TNVC necessarily.
yeah.
L3 had this going on, but we could look at a lot of these other material solutions, or like the light from Surefire. It's like, hey, what if we had something like this or that, and go to the manufacturer and be like, hey, here's something that enough people have said they're interested in. We think if you made it, we could sell it.
Yeah.
Same with like mounts. Unity Tactical, a good friend of ours, and they make mounts and stuff. And it's like, hey, what if this, and this? And if I've had enough people say, yeah, I'm kind of looking for a solution for this, or who would make this? I'd be like, well, let's see. That's one thing. There's the cool thing about the night vision industry in the last 5 or 6 years is that there are so many small manufacturers that are listening to what the customer and the consumer wants, versus just making stuff strictly for military contracts.
Yeah.
And we have so many more options than we did, even just a few years ago. But I go back to when I started doing this stuff, and it was PVS 14, PEC 15. That was it.
I mean, it's still a
the
good setup.
FPLC came out, and now the civilians could have, a civilian powered laser. And that was it.
So-
now, we got it all.
So that's for a lot of solutions on the marketplace, that is absolutely the truth. And one, we joke about this being about this segment of vSHOTT being the virtual circle bar. No affiliation with the Venetian or NSSF, but nevertheless, a lot of shooting the shit and a lot of coming up with ideas happens at the circle bar among other similar venues. At the same time, given the question was specifically about Supergain, people seem to have a lot of questions about Supergain. As Don kind of alluded to, Supergain was not something that happened in kind of a bottom-up solution like that. I mean, that really has, so Supergain really has to do with, the relationship that we have with not just the manufacturers, but also, the manufacturers and the work that they do for the DoD side of things, the DoD side of the house. And sometimes it will be, DoD will have a requirement. So something like increasing the gain on image intensifier tubes is something that's been out there from Fort Belvoir for decades. They've been wanting that. And then L3 finally had it. And so some of it just happens to be our
Kind of trickles down sometimes.
Well, either
you're in the right position.
Not just trickling down. I mean, sometimes sometimes it is pulling it. It'll be I'll be sitting in a government briefing and I'll hear about something cool that's being worked on, that's being developed for a DoD customer, and then I'll call up the right people at the right places and say, hey, when can I get that? Can I sell that? And sometimes they let us, and sometimes they don't, which is why I don't have Phenos yet. But and Supergain is kind of exactly a result of something kind of similar to that. Supergain was for sure developed for DoD, adopted by DoD for years before we released it commercially. But we saw Supergain, or I should say, I saw Supergain, and I showed everybody else at TNVC Supergain, and I said, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. So that leads into, have Supergains been good sellers for TNVC? Yes.
And do people like them?
They do. It's one of the, we talked about this because all these Supergain questions. I would say the majority do. Some people are kind of like, it's nice. I don't know if it's like worth that much extra money, and it's not worth that extra, that extra amount of money to everybody. But if you could budget it, if you got the money for it, I would say go for the Supergain. I mean, what do you think, Don?
Yeah, I mean, I have a set, and the set that I, had used for years prior to that were pretty high spec.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking Phenom, I 5+ years ago they were 2,500. Phenom, and I still have them.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't have them anymore. I really like these. Are they a ton? Like, are they really, really, really brighter? I mean, it's noticeable, but
it's definitely noticeable.
During NightFighter season, we call it, I'm out there a lot wearing nods. So if you're under nods a lot, especially if you work in areas that it gets really, really dark, I really notice the difference. If you do stuff in what we would consider more of a highlight environment, urban, where there's a lot of ambient light and street lights and stuff like that, you may not really notice the difference and see the benefit, but I do. I was out in a really dark area on the range this past weekend in Arkansas, and I mean, without them you couldn't see anything. And as the guy running the range and the instructor, I like having the best vision I can, because I'm responsible for safety of 20 dudes on firing line too.
Yeah. You're running DTMVS auto games.
DTMVS, just regular standard with the Supergain unfilmed light boss.
Yeah.
Our X300's the standard handgun helmet light with the IR versions as well. So I mean, I'll let y'all tackle some of the handgun stuff. But I mean, as far as helmet light, I mean, obviously we think that the best helmet light is our collaboration with Surefire, helmet mounted task light
for that.
Which is, I mean, it's basically a V1 that goes low-high instead of high-low, which sounds really simple, which doesn't sound like, it's something all that terribly revolutionary, but I mean, it's extremely useful. I think it's, the best helmet light solution that's currently out there.
Yep.
As far as handguns, I mean, I run primarily X300s, but there are a lot of options out there.
Yeah, so I have that model on my bump helmet my carbon fiber that I wear all the time. There's an X300 Vampire, an older one, on my other helmet, and the newer ones are they out? Yes, they're out. They've been around for a long time. They're just not super common. The newer ones are brighter as far as white and IR. Historically, I've been not a big fan of dual spectrum weapon lights for two reasons. One, you have to manually switch it back and forth, so it's not automatic, or it's something you can really do on the fly. And two, as far as lights go, if I have a white light, I want all the lumens and all the candelas, right? And if I have IR light, I want the best IR light. And anytime you jam both of those into a flashlight, you don't really get the best of both. So that's just my theory and my reasoning. There are other guys who want that capability. If that's something that you want, go for it. But on a pistol, all my handguns have either X300 U-boats or mod light PLHs on them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say,
Whatever it is, yeah.
I mean, I've got dual spectrum lights for things that have like a specialized purpose of some
Right.
sort. But as far as like standard pistol light goes, I mean, it's going to be a Surefire X series of some sort. I mean, we were talking about this last night with Chris. I mean, I've got everything from X200s to several models of the X300. We're up to the T now, right? But
I don't know. I just got a couple of old U-boats that I've been running forever.
and then,
No issues with them. Yeah, the turbo. There's a turbo version.
yeah, well, it's the UT, so it's
But
the
it-
Ultra Turbo, I think.
Awesome. Well, I gotta get one. just because it's called Ultra Turbo.
This one's good. I've actually gotten this question quite a bit from guys that have the bucks to spend. And it's a tough one. So I mean, it's
You gotta read the question. For
yeah.
me.
So someone has 31s, high-end IR, all gear needed in training, but wants a high-end thermal. Which should they get first? With 17 to 20K, which is a great budget. I mean, that's good guess. Voodoo S or E-Cody. I mean, those are two completely different items.
Yeah.
So it just depends what you're doing. I mean, a Voodoo S has a hell of a lot more capability than an E-Cody in terms of a thermal device, but an E-Cody is going to kick its ass, like in terms of like using it with nods. So I mean, two different things. I think a lot of people just it depends what you're using it for. Are you looking for coyotes or pigs with an E-Cody? To then go to a thermal scope. I'd say at that budget. I mean, Voodoo S I think is going to be an all-around more capable device. I mean, for just in terms of a device.
And if it were me, I would get like a Nox 18 and a TAD and be set.
Have both.
Or a TAD and a Halo X35 or something like that. So you can have a weapon sight and something to go on your PVS 31s, and you're good.
All right, go-to helmet white light. We
Didn't we
kind of
just talk
talked.
about
Yeah,
this?
we kind of already talked about this, but yeah, fucking TNVC Surefire HMTL and Princeton Tech Admin light.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard. Or whatever you have laying around, that you can mount on there. If you got, for the longest time, I was like, whatever, some little bitty little pocket Surefire I had.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally taped to the side of my helmet in a rack. Tape and Velcro. It worked good enough.
You're still here.
Yeah,
It must have worked.
I won. They didn't.
Are we expecting newer Mohawks? I mean, we are always in the process of product development. I mean, I've got
In
boxes.
the process of not leaving well enough alone, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got freaking boxes of like nylon and hypalon and all sorts of stuff. I mean, yeah, there's like 20 different fucking prototype Mohawks out there that we worked on. So, will there be one if we find one that improves enough to to warrant producing a brand new a new generation of Mohawk? You will. If not, then maybe not. Maybe you might be waiting a while.
Yeah. I mean, if you need a Mohawk, just buy
Yeah,
one.
Mohawk.
You don't be waiting for the new Mohawk right now if you need one.
Let's do another giveaway.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you just like giving stuff away, Tom. I mean,
That's
geez.
what it's here for.
That's what people are here for. They're asking questions.
They
but
don't
wanna
care.
win
They're
shit.
just buying time.
I got pretty good giveaways, so.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do the Voodoo Tactical Shooting Mat. So we've been talking a little bit about long guns, and I remember, and Corey was talking about different ways that you can shoot. So Voodoo Tactical has generously provided this shooting mat, which I am not going to unroll on this table here.
That looks like a Tom Austin nap mat. I might take a nap on that.
But Jeremy H., you are the lucky winner of a Voodoo Tactical Shooting Mat.
Cool. That looks pretty comfortable, actually.
One more.
It looks way more comfortable than my
We're
worn out.
shooting from the East Coast, and,
Yeah,
and
dude,
you know,
this-
everyone's getting a little.
I mean, I got this worn out old Midway that I lay on. That thing, I could take a nap on that.
All right, you do one more giveaway?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Well, would you like
Want me to
to
get something away?
jump into?
All right, cool. I'm giving away a free slot for a Green Line Tactical NightFighter course.
That's pretty good.
All right.
That's damn good.
Scott S. Whoever you are, Scott S.
Nice.
I'll see you sometime this year. The deal with this will be you'll get emailed, obviously, and you'll coordinate with my admin dude, Landon, and it will be good for 365 days from now.
Not
For-
Night Out Summit.
What?
Not
No.
Night Out
Yeah, it's for a night fighter course, not the night operations summit. You're more than welcome to sign up on Green Line Tactics website, for the night operations summit. But this is for a night fighter course. We're here at vSHOTT, so awesome. I'm looking forward to having you and meeting you and getting after it on the range.
Good times.
All right, pros and cons of the TAD and the ETA on the TAD. Cons, I mean, $6,500 is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
It's a one-trick pony. Yeah, I mean,
It's
it does one thing, but it does
Yeah.
it well. You know, I'm gonna get one.
ETA right now. It's probably looking like late this year. As we start getting a little bit more confidence on the exact release date, we'll start taking the pre-orders for the TAD. But late this year is kind of the target for that.
For aerial stuff, yes, but it depends. The question was, can you use the TAD or on aerials?
Yeah, max effective range
Max effective range.
and
It's a new question. I didn't realize that.
yeah.
Two TAD questions in a row.
Well, we're trying to group them together if we
We-
can.
I mean,
It's all Molly.
I would think part of it too is because thermal. Sometimes you gotta look at one area for a minute. You know what I mean? Versus if you're going
Well,
too fast.
some of this goes back to the annoying question that you got asked before. When people ask me to give an absolute range for the effectiveness of anything, and I'm like, it depends on conditions. I mean, is the
Right.
guy hiding or is the guy
So,
just standing there? Do they know that
You
you're
want me to
there?
say you can see 500 yards with an E-Cody or a TAD.
Yeah.
If I can see a bonfire at 500 yards, but I don't know if I can see a bunny rabbit at 500
Yeah,
yards.
right.
You know what I mean? So, but the question, if I'm in a helicopter shooting or something and I'm wearing that, more likely than not, at whatever elevation you're going to be flying, looking for people and stuff like that, yes, it'll be great. 100 yards is probably about practical range and just my experience with the E-Cody. It shines in close quarter, more urban, or wooded environments and stuff like that. It's not going to give you the performance of some of the stuff that's made to be a rifle scope or a long range thing, but it's really small and it clips onto your night vision. So it's awesome because of that. But yeah, it's awesome.
It's the ID part too. I mean, you can see something, but can you shoot it?
Well, and then and once again, that's going to depend on your rules of engagement or rules of use of force, and so when people are like, "What range can I do this at?" I'm like,
Hard
Yeah.
answer.
So why is it so expensive? I thought we've been over this a couple times.
I mean,
It's actually not expensive.
okay, skip it.
Well, before we skip it, I mean, I want to say that one of the things that we kind of talk about and that we kind of have joked about, and I'm going to give a shout out to our friend Chris Huber, who is our senior director of sales,
Chris.
who has been in the industry for quite a long time. I mean, at the end of the day, the price of a top-of-the-line PVS 14 has been about $4,000 to $5,000 for pretty much the last 30 years. So between $4,000 and $5,000 was going to get you the top-of-the-line PVS 14, except the top-of-the-line PVS 14 30 years ago was like $1,600 bomb. And so
really it keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
right, when you factor in inflation and all of these various factors,
It is literally going down. It's getting better and getting more affordable. The average Joe was not buying night vision, and partially because it wasn't really that accessible, but also because what it cost was, you know, a lot of money, you know, compared to now.
Well, the median home was like 60 grand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so the thing is, and, you know, I'm trying not to sound insulting, but guys who earn less percent, you know, like proportionally or, you know, adjusted for inflation now are able to buy things like this that they would have never been able to buy in our father's times, you know, stuff like that. You know, my dad was self-employed; he made pretty good money, but he didn't make nearly what I do. And the things that I buy with my money cost about the same. Oh yeah, and they're way better than they were back then too.
And I mean, there has been some cost increases, but they haven't been gigantic cost increases. Like Augustine is still in that same price range.
But they also are usually come with major performance upgrades as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean that, and 8, 9, 10% inflation will
Oh yeah.
naturally start raising prices a little bit too. But
But it still hasn't gone up. It's not like tremendously gone up.
yeah,
You know?
it has. The price of night vision has not kept pace with the pace of inflation. We'll put it that way. Beginner setup, you'd recommend cost-effective way to start. I mean, PVS 14.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the best 14 you can afford. A good bump helmet like an Ops Core, and a G11.
Yep.
And you don't even
And
have
laser.
to. You don't even have to go that route. A PVS 14 on a frickin' shoelace will
Around your neck.
will
Yeah.
get you in the game.
Yeah, this is
You
true.
know?
Yeah,
And
if
and
you
they
wanna run
do
and gun-
come with nifty black
Yeah,
shoelaces.
if you want to do running and gunning and shooting, you need a laser, but there's some, affordable, C1 lasers out there. But yeah, the 14 was how most of us started out, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 14. I will never not have one. Never say never.
Oh, question for me. What's my favorite handheld thermal scanner? I use a lot of different things because I'm always testing new products and want to know what's available to me. But I think the best bang for the buck, the best value is the Bering Optics Phenom 640 resolution thermal scanner. For $39.95, I think is the price on it. You get a freaking awesome thermal. Actually, $31.95 is the price. And it's an awesome thermal scanner with beautiful image quality, small, lightweight, compact, easy to conceal, easy to charge, and just good value.
Yeah, that's the one that you let me use when we hunted. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to talk to you about getting one.
And that's Corey. That's Corey's go-to.
That's
as
what
well.
he
Yeah,
uses.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great little. I mean, and yet, if you have some sort of external battery, to charge it, I was charging it while we were moving from stand to stand. It was great. It worked fine.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking max height over bore for the Super Hogster. I actually don't know the answer to that, but I am happy to research it and get back to you. So whoever asked that question, email me, tom@nightgoggles.com, and I'll do some research and let you know exactly what they say over at Bering. Sorry, I don't know.
All right. Did we see an upgrade to the Ops Core amps? I mean, I think that's something that a lot of folks kind of. We talked about this kind of with the Mohawk as well. But a lot of times these products are in a continual state of improvement. It's very hard to remain successful by being a one-trick pony. If there were things that were being worked on for the amp that I knew about, they probably wouldn't be things that I could talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but-
the thing is, most of these companies that like Ops Core and stuff, you can rest assured that when they release a product, that they've got guys either working on version 2 already or trying to troubleshoot what can be fixed or the next generation of all that stuff. I mean, that's just it. How it is.
Yeah.
Do we always get to know about it? Sometimes not until the last minute.
I mean, and again, things will also sometimes be driven by government requirements,
Right.
and as different things kind of come out. What footwear are we running? Gore-Tex. I mean, I am an Asian man living on a subtropical island, so it's typically sandals for me. You know what I mean?
That's almost all I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm wearing some low hiking boots that I bought at REI, and I don't think they're Gore-Tex.
Yeah, I am wearing Merrill Moabs right now, non-Gore-Tex, because your feet are gonna get wet in South Carolina.
My boots they're leather, so I'm a little treatment on them.
I don't know, y'all live in different climates.
I'm not
And there they are, right there.
I'm not the boot nerd. I usually wear like some kind of work boot, pull-up boot. That's my preferred thing. I hate getting dirt and shit inside my boots. But if I'm gonna go do a class like NightFighter 101, I'll wear Solomon's or something like that. So
It's gonna be
more athletic.
a really terrible post on your airsoft forum.
My older brother's a dealer for Kinetics boots, and for the hunting boots, they make some of the best hunting boots on the market. They're not cheap, but they will outlast your feet. So Kinetics is what I wear when I hunt.
What's something on the horizon that not many know about, but that we're excited about coming into the industry? I mean, I feel like by very nature of that question, there are a lot of things that not many know about that I'm very excited about. Very few of them that I can talk about.
Plus, who knows when it's gonna, or if it's gonna come to the industry, in terms of what you could buy, or the civilians. So.
I mean, it's also, and how do you define that not many know about?
Okay, if you don't know about Acton Black's 50-degree field of view lenses, if you're listening to this, you probably do, but maybe not. Maybe that still means not many other people know about. Dude, I'm excited about those. I can't wait to get a set for myself and start using them.
Well, and
that's the reason I bought those Super Gabe tubes, was to put pair them with those lenses so I could have some kick-ass.
Well, so I mean, we've got them right here, as well as Acton Black's blackout training filters as well. I mean, here's the thing, and I posted some teasers on social media earlier today. We've known the guys from Acton Black, Reimer and the crew since they got started.
We were the first dealers in the United States.
But Chris Adams was gonna be, but that's a story for a different time.
I thought we were, but
No. I think we were the first ones that actually did anything. But anyways,
I've been running those. I mean, shoot.
But so
I
mean,
one of the first prototypes of those.
Right there.
There's been a lot of hype about them. I think there's some folks out there that are already taking pre-orders for them. I mean, we're going to do a thorough testing and evaluation process on these. And we're going to at the appropriate time, once we've had enough time with them, we're going to give our opinions on them. It's probably a little premature at this point in time.
Quit moving around, Augie. You don't look at it.
Okay, what else? Is there anything else, Tom, on your end? Is there anything else we've already talked about?
Yeah, just some better cost-effective laser range finding thermals, which are
some of that's on the horizon, you think?
Yeah, like the one that Corey's been testing.
Yeah.
For that price, for it to be able to range a coyote at 1,000 yards on snow is unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's that Yoter that we had.
Yep. He was actually testing the Super Hogster LRF, but the Yoter will be even more impressive just because it's a 640 resolution. Yeah.
I won't let
I mean, I guess we can talk about the RNVGA as well. I mean, now I'm just trying to think of, I'm racking my brain. It's like, well, what can I talk about? But do people know about this? Do people not know about this? So, RNVGA is ruggedized night vision goggle, or a version of the RNVG, the ruggedized night vision goggle for AB night vision. It's you may have heard of it under the name ARNVG as well. You can blame me for the fact that we're calling it the RNVGA. I think it just makes more sense. because it's a part of the RNVG family and happens to be articulating, and it's made by the same manufacturer. But you know, there was some discussion over that, but it's the RNVG-A, guys, at least from TNVC. But that's a new product. I don't know that you know, a lot of people know about that. But at the same time, I mean, there have been plenty of YouTube videos from like the same 5 prototype housings that got sent out ahead of SHOT Show, and so you know, that's going to be an pretty interesting system, I think. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, the thing that's kind of neat with it is that it's all, you know, aluminum, so it's going to be pretty tough. You know, so it's pretty slick little housing.
Yeah.
I mean, the 50 degrees are. I mean, the cool thing is there's just so many cool products. You know, and for the commercial market especially, I mean, you have a lot of options. You know, and the hardest thing. That's another question. You know, people call. They're like, "What's the best night vision to buy?" And it's such a subjective, open-ended question for a lot of people. You know, it kind of depends what you're doing, how much you have to spend. A lot of awesome options. You know, in 2023 for people. So it's pretty awesome.
Is VXL really a massive improvement for civilian lasers? I'll just say yes. Next slide. Yes.
It's a good way
Yeah.
to. Oh,
It changed the game on weapon aiming lasers in general, and it made the class 1 lasers, you know, I mean, when D.E. Myers made the C1 Plus, it blew every other civilian laser out of the water. Was it more expensive? Yes. Did you all complain about it? Yes. But it was
Well,
better.
we're so glad we have it.
But it was better, and you should have bought it back then, because now it's almost twice as much as it is now.
Yeah, that's you know, that's good. That's a good thing to point out too. Like, I mean, you know, costs are going up on stuff. You know, I mean, except for night vision, obviously.
Well, I
It's
mean,
not
all
going
the
crazy.
supply problems that happened
Yeah.
with COVID hurt
Yeah,
a lot of things.
And so
And
people
that-
waiting, yeah, exactly. People waiting, like, it's kind of expensive. Well, I mean, it's
not-
going to
nothing's
happen.
gonna get less
Exactly. I mean, it's just going to go up if anything. So.
Yeah, and there's that whole time that you didn't have a class 1, you know, a small C1 Plus because you waited
Yeah.
and your friends had it.
Yeah.
Higher Patrol.
Somebody's asking for thoughts on the Trijicon IR Patrol 300. I've spent quite a bit of time behind one. I think it's a good thermal.
Absolutely.
Great image quality, but it really depends on what you're going to use it for. If you're using it to have it mounted on a helmet and navigate terrain, it's a thermal that you're trying to walk around with. It's not really.
It's kind of big for that.
It's not. It's not really good for that, but it makes a good handheld monocular. One of my favorite monoculars is the IR Patrol M250 XR. It's the 60 millimeter bad boy. But I'm in Utah, wide open terrain. You know, I need to be able to see a coyote 400, 500, 600 yards. But if I lived in Virginia or, you know, the woods of North Carolina or whatever, I wouldn't want that much magnification. So it really depends on what you're doing with it.
The IR
Trijicon
Patrol
makes a good product.
If I'm not mistaken, the IR Patrol was one of the first ones that came out when it was IR Defense before Trijicon acquired them, and we had those when they first came out, and it was the most amazing civilian
That
purchasable.
BAE 12 micron core.
Yeah,
looks
I mean, you
awesome.
remember when those we were like, holy crap, and then the IR Hunters and the scope version started coming out, and that whole lineup at that point in time was just the most amazing thermal that a civilian person could buy.
Yeah.
The cool thing is all the other stuff is kind of caught up. Maybe it's not quite as, but it's a lot more affordable.
Sure.
Yeah, IR Patrol is like,
In my
Maybe even
opinion,
be the gold
the
standard
top
when it
two
comes to stuff like
civilian thermals right now are still Trijicon and Envision. We sell both of them either at TNVC or Night Goggles, and also the Voodoo, and there's a lot of options out there. So, yeah, but Trijicon makes a good thermal.
Yep.
yeah, it was ahead of its time.
Can you do that one?
Yeah, Will, I think this is a good one for you.
All right. What's a good way to have comms with friends on the range / private land? I mean, honestly, aux-core amps with a downlead cable to connectorized headset's the best way to go. You can go Disco 32, discus. If you don't want to mess with radios and stuff, you can just use your cell phone if you got reception, talk to your buddies and stuff. or get a Disco 32 push to talk. You know, they got several different options out there for different radios, for commercial radios, like, you know, Yaesus and Baofangs, stuff like that, even Motorola's, whatever the case is. You got, you know, those knockoff PRC radios. You have plenty of options. Cool thing is tomorrow we're going to have Josh from Disco 32 popping in on here, and yeah, be pretty cool. He can answer more questions for you guys tomorrow.
So, or you just yell to each other.
Yeah.
That's usually what I do.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know the largest or heaviest coyote that I've killed. Not very heavy, actually 42 pounds, which is a fairly big coyote for the West, but it's nothing compared to the coyotes that they get. Here they have a lot of wolf DNA in them, and it's not uncommon to see a 50-pound coyote. And, you know, in Utah, like I said, every coyote is smart. They don't get very big or very old either.
Yeah.
Because they are getting, you know, killed, hunted by everybody. So
Hey, so I got a question for you that I wanted to ask you and Corey, but there was so much other stuff going on.
yeah,
Is there such thing as a coyote wolf?
yeah,
Back east, right?
yeah. There is proven DNA of
Yeah.
coy wolves and
Coy wolves?
coy dogs,
Yeah.
which is basically a coyote that has breeded with a wolf or a dog,
Yeah.
and they have DNA from, you know, whatever species in them. But yeah, and all sorts of different color phases too. Black coyotes are a thing. I've seen, of course, albino coyotes, and but most of that's pretty common to the northeast and, you know, the eastern shore. It doesn't happen very often where I'm from.
I
In
was
fact,
curious
I've
if
never
that was
seen
for
a
real
black
or if it was
coyote
like
in
Bigfoot.
Utah. I've never seen a coy dog in Utah, or coy wolf for that matter either.
You ever seen the white one?
Not in person, just,
Yeah.
you know, photos, videos, things of that
Like, I
nature.
really want to shoot that one. You want to get that one?
Yeah.
Like, man.
So, Tom, I think Night Goggles has a specific giveaway.
Oh yeah, we want to give away one of these Stalker Pro tripods. This bad boy right here. This is the one that I was demonstrating on earlier, but these are over $500 value, which is a dang good tripod. We want to give one away, so the lucky winner from our random number generator is going to be David B, as in Bravo. David B. Congrats, man.
Yeah.
We'll email you and get a Night Stalker Pro tripod ball head sent out to you. Give you a good solid shooting platform to go out and have some fun. Keep in mind, guys, these are awesome for taking photos,
Yeah.
setting up a spotting scope.
I use it for my spotting scope a lot.
Yeah,
I use them for photos and videos a lot.
do all sorts of different things with them. So, good tripod going to David. We appreciate you.
All right, so we've got another question that I'm not sure that I fully understand. What's the difference in Anvis and regular?
Well, it could be the mounts, the way it mounts. It could be the lenses. You
Could be
know,
the
It could be
tubes.
the, yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Tube spec requirements are a
Yeah.
little bit different.
I'm-
The mounting system, what some
Yeah.
people refer to as the ball detent style, so that, you know, if you've seen them, you want to know why that's there.
Yeah.
The power comes from the battery pack.
We got one of them sitting right over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I mean, most likely,
Set ones with
I'm guessing,
Yeah.
Artemis. I'm guessing most people are referring to the interface.
Yeah,
most
so
likely.
you know that will break away if you bump into something. Now remember that system was designed for inside of a cockpit, so if you bump your head on something like that and it falls off, it's more likely it's just going to fall in your lap and you can put it back on easy. But the power comes to the goggle from right here, from the battery pack.
You got these
So you know, and those of you guys leads me into the battery pack. The main reason for the battery pack for the Anvis is because if you're a pilot, you have redundant systems, right?
Yeah.
So they have two sets of two batteries, and all the guy has to do is reach up there and flip a switch if he's getting a low battery indicator.
Yeah.
Other than that, and then lens coatings.
On the
Right.
Anvis lenses.
The Anvis lenses.
Yeah.
the big caution that I always give guys in my classes is like just because it says aviation or aviation grade doesn't necessarily mean it's better. It means it's designed for a pilot.
Yeah.
And if you're not a pilot, you really don't need the same things that a pilot
Right.
It may or may not fit your application.
Right. So
Yeah.
they have coatings on the lenses that filter out certain colors.
Yeah.
And you may not want that for your application. Like you may have a hard time seeing
Yeah.
some of the visible lasers and stuff like that if it's
Yeah. Or if you have a green red dot, like, they ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
it filters out or it minimizes the color green. You know, so green lasers you can't see them as well. Green dots on your optics, you can't see those as well. So that's, you know, guys get I'll say hoodwinked, but they get mistaken into thinking that because it says aviation that it's better. But no, it's because it means it's made for aviators.
Yeah.
That's the key.
I will say I'm a huge Anvis ball detent interface nerd. Like I've got an Artemis with ball detent, and I like it a lot. But with that said, it's not the best interface for most people. So you either know if you like Anvis or you don't. In terms of the interface, like Pressburg's a big advocate, right? He likes them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that like him. I'm in that camp too, like Augie is, but. You just do some research on it. If you're not
the
sure,
guys
give
that
us a
really
call.
do strenuous work on the ground
Yeah.
usually use dovetail.
Oh yeah.
Because it's much sturdier and firmer.
Yeah.
If
Chuck's just holding out because that's what he used when he was doing stuff. And that's because that's all they had.
If you're a GPNVG customer, you probably don't buy the Anvis GPNVG just because it's more expensive. We've had that a time or two before. We've
It's
had
got to
it.
be better.
Yeah.
Because it's more because it costs more.
Yeah.
But
All right.
so I hope that again, I hope that somewhere along that discussion of various Anvis things that we managed to answer that.
But yeah,
particular
there's
question.
differences. I mean, they definitely are. Are we out of questions?
We're pretty short now.
So,
I mean,
do we have to give something else away?
Okay, we've got a couple more giveaways. Well, we've got them
And some helmets.
in something.
Okay, they know.
Incidentally.
If they're tuned into vSHOTT, they know what 40 pads are for their helmet.
yeah.
Right, they're the most comfortable upgrade, in my opinion.
How's the
using-
expression go?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're about the most comfortable thing you can do to your helmet, especially for the money, is put those pads in there. Especially if you're rehabbing an old helmet, man. I took my old Mitch helmet and cleaned it all out, repainted it, put arc rails on it, put 40 pads in it. It's like a fresh breath of life into it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got some of those?
All right, so from 4D, with a pad set of your choice, our first winner is Alfonso A for a set of 4D pads. Just we'll shoot you an email. Let us know what helmet you need them for, which set you want. There are quite a few different options out there for ACH style helmets or Team Wendy's. Or OpsCore style helmets, both with the EPP liner or the Lux liner style. So there's some options out there.
And if you don't have a helmet, we know where you can get one of those too.
Yeah.
We just so happen to.
I mean, the biggest thing I'll say is if you're not sure which ones you need, just get with us and we'll tell you.
Yeah.
Call Will. Ask him if they're in stock.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my favorite.
All right. You want to roll
something
into
else?
some more giveaways? We do also have a Blue Force Gear grid belt. That again, so Size Love explained everything last night, but our lovely producer Molly would not let us give it all away to last night. Said we had to save things for subsequent nights. But Salvatore B. You are the winner of a Blue Force Gear grid belt.
Is it Salvatore? Salvatore?
That's Vic.
I don't know. You tell me.
Salvatore!
I just read
He's
the
gonna
piece
fly
of
over here and reach
paper.
your butt, man. I gotta check out the grid belt. I like my chalk belt.
Well, I think he said the grid belt's just non-load bearing version of the chalk belt.
That's the only difference?
Yeah. So,
I gotta be able to hang off a helicopter.
all right.
I guess that's it. I
We'll
mean,
do the.
Alright.
Yeah,
Oh,
we've
okay.
got one
We do
last
have
set
something else.
of 4D pads.
All right.
4D pads.
Here we go.
Drum roll.
And our winner is Brian S. Brian S. You win a new set of 4D pads.
Congrats.
Same rules.
Yep.
Figure out what you need. Let them know.
Sweet.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for vSHOTT Night 2, the Night Goggles Takeover, and for sticking with us during the panel discussion. We'll be here one more night tonight for Night 3. Same deal as always. We'll have some presentations from special guests. Dwayne Buckner from Aimpoint will be our guest host for tomorrow night. And then we will have our grand prize giveaway drawing for the Cobalt Kinetics CK Pro TNVC Custom M81 Woodland 13.7-inch barrel rifle. Thanks for joining us, and if you haven't already, make sure to sign up and sign off for to register for vSHOTT for your last chance to enter the giveaway at tnvc.com/vSHOTT. That's VSHOTT.
Cheers, y'all. Thanks for your support.
Have a good night.